I wasn't even sharing the screen. Ain't that crazy?
Are the and Target partnership announcement has people in a stir on the timeline, bruh. So Jay-Z announced a partnership and exclusive deal with Target in the middle of Black people supposedly boycotting Target. So this would apparently be where like Target will be releasing an exclusive anniversary edition of the 1996 debut album Reasonable Doubt. There's two selling points to this new anniversary edition of
Like on some real shit, bro. How much interest in this nigga old albums do they expect to get in Target when everything is online and streamed? I don't know what the fuck difference they may be expecting or what kind of help they may be attempting to receive. But all I heard was Target associates with Epstein. Epstein affiliates. That's all I heard. Target now associates with Epstein affiliates. Affiliate Jay-Z, I should say. Or Weinstein affiliate, Harvey Weinstein affiliate, Jay-Z. Yeah, that might be a better title. That might be a better title. I ain't gonna cap to you. It might be a better title. Definitely.
Reasonable Doubt. The vinyl will have a unique color only for the anniversary edition. It will only ever be sold at Target. And also, there will be unreleased versions of certain records that would only be on this vinyl. And that's only being released via Target. This is very similar to what Jay-Z did with the NFL and Colin Kaepernick. When the NFL needed Black people to stop boycotting them because they kept firing Black athletes for kneeling and refused to give them a job, right, for protesting police brutality. So they gave Jay-Z a crazy bag to step in and undermine the movement that Colin Kaepernick started and get Black folks back in line. And what did Jay-Z do? Man, Jay-Z started calling up like media companies to run negative stories on Colin Kaepernick while at the same time telling Black folks, man, we done kneeling, man. We done boycott. We done protesting, bro.
It's a success, right? This is the next thing, right? Because there's two parts of protesting. Action to sit was literally lifted to taking a knee. You go outside and you protest, and then the company or the individual say, I hear you. What do we do next?
Jay-Z was saying this at the same time the NFL was still blackballing Colin Kaepernick. They were still disciplining and getting rid of Black athletes for kneeling. Jerry Jones even came out and said, I'll better not see anybody kneel or else they won't be playing this Sunday. So Jay-Z has always utilized his leverage in the culture to serve himself. This is not a shocker to me. Target came to Jay-Z and said, listen, man, Black folks is boycotting. They not showing up to Target. They told Jay-Z, we need you, bro. We need Black folks back in Target. What's the best way to get Black folks back in Target? Drop some records, man. Put the different color vinyl in Target. Put the unreleased.
And this is the fastest way to get niggas to stop fucking with Jay-Z. Niggas already wasn't finna be fucking with Jay-Z. Now niggas definitely ain't finna be fucking with Jay-Z, man. Come on. Come on, man. Jay-Z really just fucked himself up. Not even gonna lie. Jay-Z really just fucked himself up. Cause ain't nobody buying your old shit out of that bitch, bro. It ain't no DJs. Nobody gives a fuck that much, bro. Nobody. Who the fuck? When the last time you niggas even put on a Jay-Z song that wasn't Drake's new song with Jay-Z or the newer song with Jay-Z and Drake? What's the most recent Jay-Z song you have searched in your streaming platform and press play on? It ain't. I know I have. I'm just trying to do a survey right quick. This nigga trying to bring back Target by dropping old shit that was already out when there's streaming platforms out this bitch that's gonna motherfucking, you can play that shit anyway. Niggas already got the streaming platform to play your shit on, bro. What the fuck? Niggas gonna go out and Target. Well, we don't even fuck with them. Well, they tried to play us for real. They played in niggas' faces for a benefit. Benefited off of that shit. And now they trying to get niggas back in there because they ain't trying to motherfucking clean their face. They the one said that bullshit. Target, they the one said that shit. Ain't nobody forced them to say shit by doing shit for niggas. But they did that shit to increase their sales. They did that shit right and profited 4 years off of niggas. And then said, nah, we ain't doing that. What? Niggas should never shop in that bitch again. Not now, nigga. Not now, nigga, bro. I don't give a fuck if you half nigga, house nigga, nigga light, chink nigga. It don't matter what type of nigga you is. Nigga should not be in Target, bro. Fuck Target. I'm glad me and my motherfucking cousins used to hit lick on that bitch and get away on their ass every fucking weekend for a year and a half until they caught us. I'm so happy we tore that bitch down as much as we could when I was motherfucking 11, 10. I'm glad we tore that bitch down, man. We used to go on that bitch every weekend. I used to go to my cousin's house till one time we got caught because my cousin's silly ass wanted to be right under a damn camera, hit lick on something. Like, bro, what the fuck is you doing? I said, I walked by the nigga. Said, bro, you don't see that camera above you? And kept on walking. Like, man, it's time to go. I love my shit. I switched up shit and everything, man. If I went with them niggas, I would have got away. If they see us all come in together, I would have got away, man. I would have got away, bro. I should have broke on their ass. I ain't gonna lie, I would have got away. I was supposed to break on their ass and go back to the crib. No bullshit. Only reason I ain't run, they ain't run. I would have got away though. They would have got caught. It was slower than me. I'm glad. Boy, what? Man, I need to free my scam at home, but
Release versions of certain records in Target, make it an exclusive. Black folks gonna be back in Target, get Jay-Z a big check. I'm not surprised whatsoever. Who will be surprised that Jay-Z is doing this? Nobody. The Jay-Z defenders are probably gonna come out and have 1,000 excuses. If you guys have forgotten why black people are boycotting Target, let me remind y'all. Back in 2020, Target came out the blue and said, listen, man, all right, the pain and the plight that black folks is going through,
right.
We empathize. Now, back in 2020, everybody was looking right for some black sympathy and some black, and everybody was looking to hop on this clout gravy, bro. Black folks was in style in 2020, man. We was the ish. So Target said, listen, man, all right, we want to give $2 billion to black initiatives because what's going on in the black community, we believe we need to strengthen and help strengthen the black communities in these urban cities. We want to put $2 billion up. They got the good press. Black folks rallied around Target. Target got all the benefits of this pledge before they even gave $1. Target also said, listen, we believe employment would also help the black community. So we're going to put in DI initiatives to make sure we make a concerted effort to give black people an opportunity to get employed by Target. Target was...
I'm not even going to lie. It's a black company out here that needs to implement this type of rhetoric or this type, what would you call it, strategy. It's all black companies need to implement this strategy for white people and even Asians. I'm talking about every, you know what? It need to be seasonal. Like every season, you just switch up the race and get all of their money. Put out a national motherfucking ad. You feel me? And say that same shit. Yo, we pledge to help out the white community for white supremacy or some shit like that. Just some bullshit. Just put some bullshit on that shit. I swear, boy, because that's all motherfuckers doing out there. Just scamming and capping. That's how them bitches coming up. They just capping and scamming. Scamming and capping. Like, for real, bro. Bitches be playing in the nigga face, man. They be playing right in the nigga face, bro. They be playing right in the nigga face. And then what make it so bad, niggas be don't forget, you know, niggas got short attention spans and all. It's some niggas looking at this shit like, oh shit. It's some niggas that just left up out of Target. It's some niggas that just left up out of Target looking at this shit like, oh shit, I forgot we were boycotting that bitch. He's like, oh shit, I thought we were boycotting. Hey, we boycotting all their ass now. We boycotting all their ass. Target, the Asian stores, all the stores, Asian restaurants. We boycotting all that shit. We ain't fucking with none of them folks. The white restaurants, the motherfucking what's the shit called? Destination smokehouses, all that shit get boycotted, man. All that shit get boycotted. Especially Destination Smokehouse. Especially Target. Especially your favorite goddamn Chinese restaurant. Especially them. Especially them, bro. We boycotting all this shit, right? Niggas spend with niggas, bro. That's what we're supposed to be doing. Niggas should be spending with niggas. If you ain't spending with niggas,
Black folks' favorite store, man. Target really stepped up and led the way. Now, these were blushes. Okay, 5 years later, in 2025, Donald Trump came out and said, listen, that DEI initiative stuff is out the window. It's racist to white folks. It's done. Target 5 years later still hadn't given that $2 billion they pledged. So when Donald Trump came with the DEI is dead, it's over with, Target then used that as an excuse to say, well, we're not giving it $2 billion because Donald Trump said DEI is done. We don't have to get $2 billion. Black folks says, nah, you not doing that. No, wait, nah, you is not. Oh, we need that $2 billion, bro. Oh, we need these initiatives to be in place. So black folks said, we are boycotting Target because they played in our faces. You could have very well just sat quiet and done nothing. Walmart ain't doing a goddamn thing. These other corporations ain't doing a goddamn thing. You stepped up and pledged. Honor your pledge. So black folks stepped in and say, yo, we are boycotting Target until they honor their pledge. As a matter of fact, we have a couple things on the agenda that we need done. And if y'all don't do this 4 things, we are boycotting Target, and the Target boycott is in place. And it's been effective. I think Target stock went down like 30% after the boycott.
The Black church historically has always been on the front line of civil rights. And so Lent is the season that leads from Ash Wednesday to Resurrection. So it is not just a withholding of dollars, but a pushing forward of prayer. A lot in America is shifting, and the church is going to have to be more active and vocal. So
I ain't gonna lie, man. What bullseye? Fuck Target. What bullseye? Fuck Target, man. What bullseye, man? What the fuck is bullseye? We need a store called Bullseye, man. Hey, man, all niggas, man. We need a store called Bullseye. What's up, man? What y'all gonna do?
I think we can put them up on the screen. Honor the $2 billion pledge to the Black business community, which they made in 2021, is getting that through the end of this year. Let me pause and say to you, the reason why that's significant, they made that pledge after the killing of George Floyd. Target is headquartered in Minneapolis, where George Floyd was killed, and it wasn't connected to DEI. It was supposed to be honored December of 2025. And so when the president made this move to dismantle DEI, they hid that obligation under it and are not honoring it. I'm going to come back to number 2. 3, completely restore the franchise commitment to DEI. Yes. 4, pipeline community centers at 10 HBCUs and teach retail business at every level. And they made some commitments to HBCUs, even being honored by some Black business organizations because of their commitments to DEI. But number 2, explain this one. Deposit $250 million against any of 23 Black banks. Why is that on the list? I think it's so significant because our Black businesses are really fighting to get access to capital. And a lot of our Black banks are unable to do so. If Target is receiving $12 million a day from Black people, then I think that some small modicum of that should be reinvested directly back into our community. So
they even try to give Jamal Bryant the bag to sell us out, right? He came and said the boycott is over. Man, bro, when he said, bro, the real people who organized the boycott said what? The backlash was so immense that he had to come back and apologize for trying to end the boycott. So Target thinks Jay-Z, from my perspective, they think he's more culturally relevant than what he really is. I don't think Jay-Z moves the needle in that sense. I don't think Jay-Z still has the leverage and the authority in the culture. I feel like social media right now, Jay-Z's entire legacy has unraveled. People see Jay-Z for who he really is. This don't move the needle anymore. But Jay-Z is just picking up the bags. Now, the discourse is happening online. There are people who are going as hard as they can against Jay-Z. And then obviously there are the Jay-Z defenders who are making an excuse for Jay-Z. So we're going to cover both ends. We're going to cover people who believe that Jay-Z did nothing wrong, as well as people who believe that Jay-Z is absolutely evil for this. Now, I'm agree with the latter. I think Jay-Z is despicable. I think this is shameless, bro. You are a billionaire. How much more money do you need off the backs of the very same people who support you?
Better sleep is simple. Just track your activity. Avoid blue light. Get adequate exposure to natural light. Or maybe you just need a little more from your mattress. An adjustable base offers personalized comfort with customizable head and foot positions that can help relieve back pain and alleviate snoring. Elevate your sleep at Ashley.
Whew, all right, rock stars, the people have a lot to say about Jay-Z's decision to partner with Target for an exclusive 30th anniversary release of Reasonable Doubt. Some say he's choosing business over his own community. Some people say it's just business at the end of the day. So I'll ask you guys, how do you feel about this?
Listen, I'm just going to jump right in and say that Jay-Z has consistently showed us time after time again that for him it's going to be partnership over principle. Allegedly, we remember when he backdoored Dame Dash, you know, when he made those partnerships in his own
Allegedly.
we've seen when Colin Kaepernick was going through it with the NFL.
Definitely
and
did that shit.
In his defense, and now right in the middle of our very own people, his very own people, being in the middle of a Target boycott, he is partnering with Target. And so I think what the biggest issue is here, that we look for these quote unquote iconic people that so many idolize to be leaders. And for them, it's only about legacy building, and that's their own legacy. Forget the people. Ooh, come on.
Jay-Z
all about the
saw an opportunity. He saw the void that is Black people not shopping at Target. And he pitched to Target, you know what? I'm the Black culture. I got this huge cult-like following. If y'all give me a shitload of money, I will team up with y'all exclusively to do this. And it's like, Jay-Z, you leveraged the boycott and the struggle of our people who are attempting to put Target in their place. You leverage that for your own personal gain. And it's fucked up, especially considering that you are not some low-level rapper who needs the money. And I know men like Jay-Z get to a certain level and they do this thing where they're like, it's just business. It was a business opportunity. It is not just business, Jay-Z, when you leverage the hard work and the strides that everybody put in to get our voices heard and our feelings felt at Target, and you just go on and completely undercut all of that for your personal gain. Now, I know a lot of y'all not finna like this, but I'm finna have to take it there. And Beyonce, you ain't no damn better.
You ain't no better. That's why you ain't
Beyonce,
getting blackballed with him.
This is legitimately the equivalent of the nice white woman that we work with and we like, but she goes home to a Trump-supporting husband and is raising Trump-supporting sons. It's no different.
Man, let me tell you, man, Beyonce, I ain't gonna lie, bro. Beyonce lost a lot of niggas when she came out with that country album, and she was on that bitch looking like she was trying to be the female Michael Jackson. Like she was trying to change colors, bitch. I ain't gonna lie to you, shawty. You already light-skinned. Why the fuck you got these motherfuckers on there with you looking like you got that, like your mama's white? Like your daddy light skinned and your mama white, bitch. That's how that picture look. With you on that motherfucking that country album, man, the bitch was damn near white, bro. I was disappointed in Beyonce, bro. I was disappointed because I was like, what the fuck? When I seen how she was on that horse, I said, oh shit. Jay-Z pimping. I say that nigga said he was big pimping, spinning cheese. Boy, that nigga, boy, he was not bullshit. That nigga Jay-Z lived out all his rhymes. The Evils, his first album, one of his main songs, The Evils, is one of his songs. The Evils. This nigga's evil. He showed you he evil. He don't give a fuck about how y'all feel. This shit about that fucking money for him, man. That nigga ain't never gave a fuck.
Jay-Z is a sellout, no doubt about it. 100%.
His
the biggest sellout, I think. the Black community has probably ever seen. How many more times do Jay-Z got to sell us out before we say enough is enough, bro? Rock Nation got to go, homie. Think about it. This Target thing is just the latest attempt at him selling us out. He already did it with the NFL. He already did it numerous of times. Jay-Z is a sellout. And anybody defending Jay-Z and these actions, look at them very closely. Look at them very closely. Because they is compromised. When B-Dot told Angela Yee, man, I don't see the problem with this, that's because Rock Nation is in B-Dot pockets. As simple as that. They're compromised. When the Joe Budden podcast load up their mics to do a show, and they refuse to touch on this, or make 1,000 different excuses for Jay-Z, then you know. These people are compromised. They can't criticize Rock Nation. They can't criticize Jay-Z because they in Jay-Z pockets. It makes no sense. Why y'all can't just be real? Whenever somebody commentary is going against
Jay-Z and
whatever you know them for, that is a problem. If their commentary is contradicting every single thing you know about them, it's a problem. And it's a bigger problem if their commentary only contradicts their moral compass and their character when they talk about Jay-Z and Rock Nation. They have strict beliefs and principles and moral codes until when it comes to Rock Nation, then all of a sudden, their moral compass is flexible. All of a sudden, they open-minded. All of a sudden, it's this, but I don't, man, y'all.
For that. And then I see another brand is called Being Black is Lit, went online and said, please remember what Jay-Z did when the Black community planned to boycott the NFL, but what they did to Kaepernick, and some of you defended him saying he's playing chess, and all you got were diverse halftime performers and him getting richer. Now, I want you to go ahead, B-Dot, take the floor.
No, I just think it's textbook selective outrage. It's like a nothing burger because every major artist does this. You know, Target is just getting a vinyl in a different color. That's all it is. Like J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar, they all have done the same thing. In fact, when D'Angelo passed, his vinyl for Voodoo got sold out. So I don't understand what the outrage is about. It just seems like it's a bunch of hypocrisy.
All right. Well, I mean, I was thinking that this was something exclusive that was only available in Target. And while the other artists that you mentioned didn't have an exclusive deal, but I'm,
Target markets it as an exclusive, but it's nothing like really exclusive, just a different color of the
But it
vinyl.
is exclusive.
Well,
It's not available anywhere else.
Okay, but if the product is still the product. You know what I mean? But like I said, it just feels like hypocrisy. Like Target still carries mad Black brands and products. Like I think over 150. So are we going to boycott that?
Well, yeah, and I do know that there's people that have had deals before all of this.
Yeah.
They had some Target.
Pullback has happened. So I think the concern is with him striking a deal, after that, and the ability to do that somewhere else.
Y'all got to stop doing mental gymnastics for Jay-Z, bro. At this point, we see who you guys are, bro. And there's a lot of people that we got respect for, and there's a lot of people that we got love for. But to see how they do this, this is some nasty stuff, man. Y'all let me know in the comment section, what do you guys think about this, man? If you're still watching this video and you want to watch another good video, click on this video right here, somewhere on my screen, somewhere here, or here, or here, or here, somewhere on my screen, to find out how exactly Young Dolph goons just got their revenge on Young Dolph's accused killer, Hernandez Govain. I'm going to see you guys in this Young Dolph.
Shit, I definitely want to see this. How the fuck they got revenge? I just
No
heard.
one was ready for what just happened.
I just heard Buddy
CDS
got whooped
2.0
after
just
bonding
dropped
out,
and
and
keeps your
then I
character consistent.
heard.
Before this,
Shit.
AI videos were unable to keep good character consistency.
Most recent thing I
They could
heard
show
was
you
he
good
got
motion,
booked
but they could
again
not remember a face.
after being let out, after bonding out. He got booked for some
Precedence
other shit.
2.0 solved it.
But I
A
don't
single
know if it's
prompt can
connected to
control the
Dolph shit.
entire outcome. You give it up to
Well, let's see
50
what the fuck
references,
this shit going
photos,
on.
clips, even audio.
It's been reported that Young
I heard some shit. I don't know. It don't look like he gonna be able to make that fight with Woody. He was bugging Woody about signing the fight to do that deal so he could get some money, right? And he gonna need that money now, but he ain't even gonna be able to make that fight.
Dolph goons finally got their revenge on his accused killer, Hernandez Govain. Hernandez Govain is the accused killer of Young Dolph, and we say accused because he went to court and he got found not guilty. So he was supposed to be considered innocent, but it looks like people around Young Dolph still ain't buying his innocence, and they still want blood.
Ladies and gentlemen, have you reached a verdict?
And I read something that said it's insinuating he had something to do with Big Jook death. I was like, damn, I thought that was a problem.
Hernandez Govain, count 1. We, the jury, found the defendant Hernandez Govain not guilty in count 1 of the indictment. State of Tennessee versus Hernandez Govain, count 2. We, the jury, found the defendant Hernandez Govain not guilty in count 2 of the indictment. Ma'am?
Go to the session.
Ma'am? Ms. Thompson, is this your verdict? Is this your verdict? Yes, sir. Is this your verdict?
Yes, ma'am.
Is this your verdict? Yes.
Look how happy that boy was. That boy was so ecstatic.
Is this your verdict?
He should have remembered that feeling. Niggas be forgetting that feeling when they beat some shit. They be forgetting that feeling they have right before the judge read that verdict. That nigga was out here doing all that bullshit, and he hadn't forgot the feeling he felt right there before the judge read them verdicts. Bitch, you need to remember that shit. Your ass don't remember that shit, boy. Your ass end up in a situation like his ass is again on some sleep shit because you want to be trying to get some money off the internet, thinking you Charleston White, thinking you gonna troll your way into $1 million.
I'm a law-abiding citizen. You go to court, you get found not guilty by a jury of your peers. I got no other option but to accept the verdict. But obviously, that's not how it works in the streets. Young Dolph goons are not looking at the court decision and thinking, oh,
They not.
he's innocent, let's
No.
leave him alone. Clearly not. They're still out
Definitely
for blood
not.
because they didn't just ambush and attack him
no.
once this week. They ambushed and attacked him multiple times. The first attack actually came on live stream. This Memphis man right here, his name is Sammy. Now, Sammy has an allegiance and alliance with Young
Wait
Dolph.
a minute. Multiple times. Wait a minute. I only heard about one. All right, let's go.
His crew. Well, Sammy was on Facebook Live. And while on Facebook Live, Sammy pulled up and ambushed Hernandez Govain.
We seen what we could see of that when they closed the door and Govain had a grip in that nigga hair. Like buddy ass looked like he was goddamn finna punish his ass into the corner. Looked like he was.
I ain't gonna lie, homie. Dude was fighting Hernandez Govain like he been training his entire life for this moment, bro. So we didn't know it was Hernandez Govain until this moment in the video, which we obviously can't really show or play because it's actually violent. But this is the part where Hernandez Govain face
It's
actually
not violent.
into
They say that shit violent, but you can't see nothing going on.
the camera. He got Hernandez Govain like pinned up against the wall.
You can't see
and
shit. You don't even know who won the fight for real, man. You can't see.
dude is like punching Hernandez while Hernandez is pulling his hair.
Swing.
Now, I don't know if the person on the flow in the beginning of the video, because we've seen dude punching down and the thumps was really, it was like it was like thump, thump, thump. I don't know if that was the dude, if Hernandez Govain was the dude that he was giving the beats to while he was on the ground. Hernandez Govain is my guy, so I'm gonna just say we couldn't see him land those punches on Hernandez Govain, so it never happened.
See it.
But Hernandez Govain was the person pinned up against the car. But believe it or not, that wasn't even the worst of the ambush and the attack that took place this week.
Wasn't.
So that ambush took place in the evening. Hernandez Govain didn't even get a chance to respond back to it because the video of that incident didn't begin to circulate mainstream until the following morning. But by 11 a.m., Hernandez Govain was in federal custody. And in federal custody is where he got the worst of it. Let's break it down. So a few days prior to the fight you just saw on Facebook and IG Live, Hernandez Govain was arrested on a misdemeanor charge for apparently stalking, harassment, and threatening.
Right.
Apparently, this chick owed him about $4,000, and he wanted to get his money back in blood.
New at 4, the man who was acquitted last year in the high-profile murder case of Memphis rapper Young Dolph is now facing new charges.
Hernandez Govain is charged in connection to allegations he threatened an ex-girlfriend last week. WREG Street of Patterson with what happened in court and what's next.
Sleep ass.
Donning a red gel uniform, something you often see with those considered high profile, was Hernandez Govain Friday. 3 members with the Shelby County Detention Response Team.
Man, first of all, after you beat a murder charge, you shouldn't go to jail for nothing after that.
Team, also known as DRT, a specially trained tactical unit, escorted the 46-year-old into court. It is here where he faced Judge Greg Gilbert, who informed him of what he's now facing following his arrest the day before.
You are charged with harassment and stalking. Each of those offenses.
Don't tell man get a stalking charge. You done beat a whole murder charge out here just a year and a half ago. And your ass goddamn end up back in jail because you stalking the bitch, because you threaten your old bitch. Why you don't threaten your old bitch? So you threaten your old bitch, end up back in jail. So now you back in jail, looking sleepy as hell.
Were able to get a copy of the police report filed after Govain's ex-girlfriend called for help. The report summarizes what she alleged happened, causing her to, quote, fear for her safety and the safety of her child.
That's all they got to use right there. That's all they got to use right there, boy. Yeah, it's stupid, man.
Former girlfriend told police Govain made phone calls and texts threatening to post to social media explicit video.
She making it seem like you will kill the child too. She making it seem like you, boy, what? That shit crazy, bro. That's like your baby mama saying she fear for her safety and the child. Like, you gonna fuck up your child. My baby mama never say no shit like that. She could fear for her safety, but she know damn well I ain't fucking with my bitch. That's fucked up when they add a child
have
to
someone shoot up her home after officers and National Guard members.
I know he ain't do that. I know damn. Let me listen to that.
Reported he alleged happened, causing her to, quote, fear for her safety and the safety of her child. His former girlfriend told police Govain made phone calls and texts threatening to post to social media explicit videos. It's also alleged he threatened to have someone shoot up her home. After officers and National Guard members reportedly checked the area, it's alleged Govain sent yet another message saying, quote, the National Guard can't save you. They can't be there forever. Friday's arraignment.
That nigga sent the message. Oh my God. That nigga text that message. This nigga's a fucking idiot. I can't believe this shit. So this nigga left a paper trail, a text trail of threats after you just beat a fucking murder charge. This nigga retarded. This nigga, lock his ass up. Just lock his ass up. He wasn't supposed to beat that shit anyway. Find something else on his ass. Nigga dumb as a bitch, man. What the fuck? You supposed to got the fuck on. And he in Houston. I mean, he in Memphis with this shit too. Yeah, he in Tennessee with this. Man, get his ass the fuck up out of here, man. His ass dumb as a bitch, bro. I ain't gonna lie
did not
to
take
you.
forever. In fact, it was over within a matter of minutes.
he's
But
dumb
things
as
are
a
far
bitch,
from
boy.
resolved as final directives were given.
You will be ordered to stay away from the alleged victim.
This was followed by the judge informing the accused bond was set at $4,000. Govan left the same way he came, flanked by extra security, headed back to lockup. Govan telling the court he could pay that $4,000 bond. The judge has since ordered him back to court Monday. We'll keep you updated on what happens next.
The charges he
that
was
shit got
originally
out and
arrested
got beat
on
up.
is nothing. I think if he get found guilty on both of those charges, he was probably facing just shy of like a year in prison, if that. So he was ordered to come back on Monday, but he missed his court date on Monday.
What?
And the reason why he missed his court date on Monday was because the feds actually picked up the charges, which to me, I've never seen the feds pick up misdemeanor charges in my life.
The man
Yeah, that's crazy. Like, the feds picked up those charges. I thought he got new charges. I thought they were charging him with some new shit, but they picked up those weak ass misdemeanor charges. Ooh, that nigga said something. Them niggas that got locked up for that dog shit and they said something extra, boy. Them niggas said something to get him roped off. I ain't gonna lie. For them to pick that up, they finna add something. They gonna add like 3 counts in like 3 weeks.
acquitted in the high-profile murder case of
3
Memphis
weeks, they
rapper
finna
Young
add like
Dolph
3
was
more
expected in
counts.
court today. Thanks for joining us for the news at 4:30. I'm Alex Coleman.
And I'm April
I see
Thompson.
that shit
Hernandez
happening
Govan was
already.
arrested last week
They
on
finna add
stalking
that
and
shit.
harassment charges. Braille Brown set in court today and has more on why Govan did not appear.
Hernandez Govan did not appear in court today due to being held in federal custody, but your news leader did learn that he will appear in court on June
They finna
18th.
add that shit up on his ass.
We, the jury, find the defendant Hernandez Govan not guilty in count 1 of the indictment, not guilty in count 2.
Less than a year after Hernandez Govan was found not guilty of first-degree murder and conspiracy charges in the death of Memphis rapper Young Dolph, the 47-year-old is back on the Shelby County court docket after being arrested last Thursday for allegedly stalking and harassing a former girlfriend. Court documents your news leader obtained revealed Govan's former girlfriend told investigators he made threatening phone calls and sent text messages, including threats to have someone shoot up her home. She also accused him of threatening to post explicit videos of her on social media.
The entire dispute actually started off over $500, but it extended to thousands of dollars because the $500 that was played with, according to Hernandez Govan, actually cost him $5,000. So Hernandez Govan needed a rental car. He couldn't book the rental car. So he gave $540 to this chick to book the rental car for him. Now, apparently she dragged her feet, didn't do it fast enough, couldn't get it done. He had to miss out on an interview that would have paid him $5,000. And because of this, he was irate. He was so irate, he didn't even want the $540 back. He just wanted her to pay for making him miss the $5,000 interview, which necessarily I don't think it's her fault. If she couldn't book the rental car and she's offering to give back the money, I don't feel like she should be held accountable. The feds provided messages where Hernandez is telling her, man, keep the money. I don't want the money no more, man. It's smoke. Now, Hernandez even told her, yo, the National Guard can't watch your house all day, LOL. And he also told her, I don't give a F about no police, National Guard, or nothing. She actually initially called the police because she was scared to go home. So she thought Hernandez might have been in her home when she got there, so she called the police, and that's how all of this started. Now, one thing that surprised me, or confused me, I should say, Hernandez had like intimate videos of her in his phone. So it's unclear if her and Hernandez, if they dated in the past or if they had a thing going on, but apparently she was in a relationship with her baby daddy. It's all weird here, okay? It has not been specified yet whether or not these charges are a felony or if it's still sticking to a misdemeanor, but Hernandez is still in custody. Now, dude who blogs out of Memphis called CEO King Munchie, now he's claiming he got the scoop. He claims that when Hernandez Govan went to jail, he PC'd up. And King Munchie is also claiming that Hernandez Govan was attacked and ambushed by Young Dolph goons who are also in federal custody.
Yeah. CEO King Munchie, man. We are live from the track house, man. You gonna hear it here first, man. All you sucker type motherfucking podcast, man. You can't me, man. You can't me, man. Whack 100, man. You can't me, man. Yeah. Woody, sucker type. Probably me blocked, by the way, man. They can't handle a real motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? They block like they some. But anyway, man, Hernandez Govan, man, he got me blocked too. But don't even worry about it, though, because he got his own self blocked, right? That in the pinafore right there. Feds to pick this motherfucker for cyberbullying, man. But that ain't the news, though. That's everybody, my mixtape, everybody got that news. You know what I'm saying? We ain't worried about this, but y'all don't know this, though. They done already whooped it, man. Man, they already got punched on. Soon he pulled up, man. They checked in, man. They might tap the pinafore, checked in PC, man. They whoop. Get how they whoop them. They check in PC, too. Man, went down to the PC like I'm
Guess how they whooped them. Soon as he get in, he check in PC. Them niggas check in PC too. They check in PC right behind his ass to get him. That is how a nigga get your ass if they really want you. If a nigga really want your ass, he gonna go to PC to get your ass too, boy. It don't matter, but PC not gonna save you. Especially a nigga connected behind that wall that know how to make shit move and open them motherfucking doors and them cells lock.
He cool down at PC, man. Yeah, you know I gotta check in. He check in PC, man. Y'all, he wanna check in? We gonna check in too. I done whooped him, and that's on my mama, man. It's going down, man. News of you, man. Yeah, man. Real news, though, man. You know what I'm saying? Hey, man. You heard it here first. Yeah. Yeah, with that thing. Oh, wait, man. You heard it here first, man. Yeah. Gotta get it to you. Man. You know what I'm saying? I'm the best to do this. And the rest of my things, suckers, rockin'.
Watch hit movies and TV shows on YouTube.
Silicon Valley. People act like we took something.
Try AM.
Me blocked, man. Sis nigga got me blocked, man. But they gonna see this though, cause this going fed. Yeah, this going fed. See, okay, much we got live from the track house, man. City news though, you know what I'm talking about? Memphis news, making easy money, people house of style kind of news, man. You know what I'm talking about, man? News you can use, man. Game for your frame, man. Yeah, man, you gotta pop it, man. I'm happy, man. Sis, man. You see that? Say nothing to me, man. None of them say nothing to me, man. But anyway, man, and then they're getting beat up, man. He gonna be a punk when he come out there, mother. Kool-Aid cheeks, man. Kool-Aid on the lips, man. You ain't have a light wig down there to put up on, man. They gonna do something to that boy, man. See your King Munch, man. We laugh from the track house, man.
If you don't speak Iganese, let me translate for you guys. When he says Kool-Aid on his lips and Kool-Aid on his mouth or his cheeks, he's referring to blood. He's claiming like they blooded him up from his face down. Now, Hernandez Govain is a gangster. Like he.
Nah, man. Nigga say he gonna be a bitch. Nigga basically say he gonna be a bitch when he get out, bro. You missed that part. He trying to interpret or what you call it? Yeah, interpret, translate. He trying to translate nigga needs, but his ass ain't even understand what the fuck he heard. He got it mixed up. He think Kool-Aid. You talk about the blood and shit. Which, nah, nigga, not the way he said it though. He said Kool-Aid on his lip, on his cheeks. Just saying, nigga, a bitch. Nigga finna have rosy cheeks and lipstick on like a bitch. He gonna be bitch made. That's what the fuck. Cause they said they gonna turn him out in that bitch. That's what he talking about. He gonna be a bitch when he get out. That's what the fuck he talking about. Lipsticks with a wig, all that shit.
Down there to put up on, man. They gonna do something to them up. Kool-Aid cheeks, man. Kool-Aid on the lips, man. You ain't gonna have a lace wig down there to put up on, man.
That's why he said he gonna have a lace wig on. That's why he said he gonna have a lace wig on, man.
If you don't speak Iganese, let me translate for
Listen to what I said and don't even mind what the fuck that nigga said. Like I said,
you guys, when he says Kool-Aid on his lips and Kool-Aid on his mouth or his cheeks, he's referring to blood. He's claiming like they blooded him up from his face down. Now Hernandez Govain is a gangster. Like he's a general where he's from. I don't think he's in there by himself. I don't think he's in there alone. Now, if a squabble happened, like one-on-ones happen in jail all the time, but I don't feel like Young Dolph and them is just pulling up and just ragdolling him and treat him any way they want to treat him. I don't think so. Nah, bro, because he got, like it's Memphis, bro. All right, like there's warring factions, there's warring sides. I don't feel like he's in there by himself or he's just a sitting duck. Now, I would say this though, man. Like these charges to me, it's very bizarre the feds picked it up. What I think is happening, I feel like they're bringing him in as they're getting ready to like bring in like more charges, right? Because I don't feel like they're just bringing him in
exactly
misdemeanor cyber stalking charges, even if they
exactly. That's exactly what I just said. But it's gonna add like three more counts to that nigga in 3 weeks. By the 4th of July. By the 4th of July, nigga, 3 weeks. You got 3 weeks. 3 weeks. That's when look, bitches don't be knowing, man. Around 4th of July is when a lot of indictments happen.
It increases to like a fed crime. What, like a year?
Around the 4th of July is when a lot of indictments happen, nigga. Because that's when they ain't got shit to do. It's the slow season for everybody. So they be like, you know what? What's this list? What the upcoming list at? They put out that list and then they go looking for niggas.
year, 2 years, maybe 3 years. I do think there's a larger play here that we're not seeing. And hopefully, like we find out shortly, man. But yeah, man, hey, shout out to Hernandez Govain, man. All right, hope everything works out for you, my brother. Like the video, subscribe. Also, too, man, if you're still watching and you want to watch another good video, click on this video right here somewhere on my screen, somewhere.
Nah, fuck that video. You got me with this one, but bitch, you won't get me with that one. I don't give a fuck about Joe Budden. I fuck with Oskino, but fuck about Joe Budden. Godfrey loses all his fans after betraying Black Americans and New Pod. That's crazy. Who that was that just said they ain't fuck with motherfucking Godfrey? It was a nigga that just did an interview. It was like, Godfrey a bitch ass nigga. Can't do it. I just had to, I was all I had to do. I'm like, man, who that was that was talking shit about Godfrey? They said Godfrey was a bitch ass nigga. Oh, K-Dub. K-Dub said Godfrey a bitch ass nigga. I believe it. I believe it. Man, let's hear this one, man. What the fuck happened, man? Godfrey.
You're
what the
one
fuck you
sentence
did,
away from
Godfrey?
launching your website with Base 44. Since the beginning of the internet, there's never been such a fun, fast, and intelligent way to...
A large number of Godfrey fans are really upset at him, and they're turning on him after this recent interview with a Nigerian actor called David Oyelowo. In this episode, they discussed the sport wars currently going on social media. Now, the actor is Nigerian, born in Nigeria, grew up in the UK. However, he was afforded the luxury to play roles like MLK and other roles that Black Americans felt like belonged to Black American actors. But the clips of them discussing him playing MLK and the backlash he received for playing Black American roles went viral on social media. And when it went viral, essentially what they said triggered a lot of Black Americans, and it caused an uproar. And a lot of Godfrey fans are pissed off at him for this conversation.
Way, way, way better and way, way, way more powerful together than we are apart.
Yes.
And I truly think so much of that mindset is born out of insecurity. You never see them coming after a Brit playing that kind of role when it's a failure. It's only when it's a success. If there's box office and if there's awards, then is the time where you go, I want a piece of that. Well, let's collaborate. So that's why I get everyone to the house, where we have those conversations. Andre Holland, brilliant actor, trained. Coleman Domingo, brilliant. I've seen that dude on stage. The success he's being afforded is absolutely warranted. It's the work.
Here's the problem that I identify. Because Tariq Nasheed and his crew are a loud minority, that whenever a non-Black American gets fair critique from Black Americans, they automatically identify that critique with Tariq Nasheed and his crew, so they dismiss the critique, even though it's a fair critique. And I don't think that's fair, because I don't think the majority of Black Americans identify with Tariq Nasheed and his philosophy. I don't think the majority of Black Americans believe if you are a baby and you're born in Africa, you're born musty. I don't think that like that's not a sentiment from the Black Americans I speak to. The Black Americans I speak to will hear some nonsense like that, and they will get pissed off, and they will get upset, because that's bigotry at its finest, right?
Yeah,
but when they give their critique, they automatically identify that critique with Tariq Nasheed, so then they dismiss it. Well, no, right? Black Americans just don't want a non-Black American playing Martin Luther King Jr. MLK is a Black American hero. They hold his legacy really sacred. And they just don't want anybody who's not Black American playing Martin Luther King Jr. I feel like that's a fair critique, and that critique should not just be dismissed or thrown to the side or grouped in with the bigotry that belongs on the other, right? Because the majority of Black Americans don't agree with whatever's going on over there. But they can say that, yeah, we believe MLK and his legacy is sacred, and we don't want anybody else playing MLK but us. And I feel like that's fair. But much of what I heard from this dude is essentially him dismissing that, him trying to talk above him, and being a tad bit condescending. Bro really said, it's rooted in jealousy. I don't think they jealous of you, bro. They just don't want you playing MLK or any other Black American heroes.
And I was looking for community. And to be perfectly honest, I met a lot of African-American actors who, as I started to get a bit of success, I could tell they felt threatened by my presence, by what I was being afforded that they felt they should be being afforded.
Oh, man.
And I was terrified because I had just now been afforded the opportunity to play Oprah Winfrey and Forrest Whitaker's son in The Butler. It was a very juicy role. I stood there, Cuba Gooding's over there, Terrence Howard's over there, like all these actors. And I was just like, oh boy, am I gonna be okay?
Y'all see what I mean, though? He dismissed any and all critique as jealousy. Now, I do believe things like MLK, Malcolm X, Farrakhan, like a Ghanaian playing Farrakhan is crazy. It's Farrakhan. But if we're talking about the general role, any
that's fair.
American-speaking English roles, if we're saying that a Nigerian, a Ghanaian, a Caribbean, a Black guy from the UK, if we're saying that they are not even allowed to ever be in Hollywood or to ever exist, now that's wrong. Well, there should be room to have this discussion. Hey, we allow y'all to eat, y'all doing y'all thing, but let's not let's not start poaching movie roles like Farrakhan, Malcolm X, MLK, things that are sacred to our culture. Let's not do that, right? Because again, like the Nigerian would have the same backlash and the same critique if a Black American goes to Nigeria and get like a really coveted role in Nollywood, and they're made to play like a Nigerian president or somebody. Nigerians will be the first one to tell you, man, now hell, now what you mean? And if he's honest, he will tell you, bruh. A Black American can't go to Nigeria and play like a coveted Nigerian role of like a historical Nigerian figure. They not having it. They'll be the first one to tell you, hell nah. So yeah, that should be the same thing. Like Black Americans should have the space to say, MLK, these other sacred roles is for us, not for you. But I also don't think they should also be barred from any and all roles, period, Now, they got to the Drewski skit where Drewski made fun of like the British actors who like take on American roles. Now, he said he found the skit funny, but you could tell from his explanation, he ain't find a goddamn thing funny about that Drewski skit whatsoever.
If we link arms like Jewish people do, like Chinese people do,
hell yeah.
like if we do that rather than fixating on the fact that, yeah, we have a smaller piece of the pie, we do. And as a result, when a Black Brit gets that role, what we're talking about is not acting. We're not talking about the art of acting. We're talking about scarcity. We're talking about the fact that there's not much pie. So when someone gets it, it's like, you're now taking a piece that makes me feel like I can't access that piece.
Yeah.
Because you don't have that with white British actors in the Hollywood constellation because the pie is vast.
So do you think like when Drewski goes out there and he does that whole skit that's gone viral? It's funny.
Yeah.
Where he's the British guy, he goes out there. Does that kind of add fuel to the fire? Because I mean, it's a thing. You're starting to hear more and more of it.
Yeah.
And it's why we started 154. Like, it's to bring all of it. It's one continent, 54 countries, but really it's bigger. It's one diaspora that's centered around who we are as people. But yet there's these micro fractures of, but they're from the UK or they're from, they're immigrants from Africa.
My thing is, I have adopted the stance of I have to let my work do the talking. There's many things in the world that I don't like, that I don't agree with, but my answer to that, to the Drewski thing, is to start a streaming platform with an African American like Nate Parker.
They look too deep into it. The Drewski thing was jokes. It was a skit about how British actors on camera, they would act like the biggest LA gang member, then off camera, they like straight, pip pip cherry, and you feel me? Like it's hilarious, yo. Here's the thing, bro. We gotta find a way.
There's more to love with YouTube Music
Man,
Premium.
that skit was really
Listen to
just
ad-free-
magnifying how much of phenomenal actors they are for real. That's what it was really supposed to highlight, how good of fucking actors they are.
The Drewski to distinguish between it's hilarious, yo. Here's the thing, bro. We gotta find a way as immigrants to distinguish between jokes and bigotry. Straight up, bro. The Drewski thing is a joke. Sitting there doing a 30-page dissertation on why the Drewski thing is harmful towards this and how you gotta let your work speak for yourself and you gotta rise above the hatred and rise above the critique. It was a skit, homie. It was a skit. You gotta distinguish between the jokes and the bigotry. I can show you some bigotry. I can show you some bigotry, bro. Go on Twitter and just scroll. You gonna see real bigotry. But the humor and the big, we can't mix up the two. We just can't, bro. We just can't, man. Drewski did a funny skit. The skit should be held there. Definitely. Now, real bigotry is an African braiding shop doing something that, that was wrong and appalling. And then Tariq Nasheed and other content creators start this whole boycott all African businesses. The white men do something. We ain't never seen boycott all white businesses, but boycott all African businesses because one African business did something. The Drewski skit is humor. Real bigotry is saying that an entire group of people shouldn't be able to make a living and feed their families and start a business. And they want those businesses shut down because they belong to an immigrant group. That's real bigotry. That's wrong. Real bigotry, not a Drewski skit, is creating a racial slur for an entire group of people and then spamming that racial slur. That's real bigotry. Yo, trust me, yo. I had to figure out what was humor and what was real. I got a lot of pushback and a lot of backlash from, bro, my family, people from where I'm from, my community telling me, hey, bro, you doing interviews with this dude? What you doing, bro? He don't rock. I said, nah, it's humor, bro. Nah, bro, he don't hate immigrants, bro. It's humor. And boy, was I wrong. Boy, was I wrong. Because, yo, I had my cousin Alvin send me something. He said, bro, it's just humor, right? Look at this. I said, hey, I can't make an excuse for that, bro. I just can't, man. I can't. I don't know, bro. So you got to be able to distinguish humor from bigotry. Drewski ain't no bigot, bro. Yo, Drewski is a comedian, man. Trust me, I had to do the same thing, bro. Yo, there was somebody, and this is like an OG on YouTube, bro. Now, again, I'll never diss this person. I'll never disrespect this person. I'll never say nothing bad about this person because this person really helped me out. They hopped on the phone with me, gave me a free consultation, walked me through how to build my channel, gave me the systems, and I applied that to grow. So I would never, ever say nothing bad about this person. I was just heartbroken and really, really, really hurt, bro. Because again, I don't know if this person helped me out before he found out I was African. or I don't know if he would help me if he knew I was African. But I watch a video where this person is essentially like going along with all the harmful rhetoric that this other guy has about people who's from where I'm from, and I'm like, damn, bro, like, they can't help that they were born here. They don't like they don't choose who their parents are. They were born here, and they're trying to make a better life for themselves. And the fact that you're supporting this dude who's saying that those people don't have a right to have a business, to operate their business, and they need to be boycotted and shut down because somebody from the same country as them did something wrong is bad and it's foul and it's not cool. And it's not cool and it's not okay. And then, and the person that I have respect for said that that person is above critique. That person should never be questioned, should never be critiqued. And I'm like, damn, right is right and wrong is wrong, right? Like, if that person did something wrong, say what they did is wrong. Right? Like, no human being is above critique at all, especially when it comes to something as harmful and hateful as what that person is doing.
Right.
And that's the OG that I had love for. And to see him take that stance, it broke me and it hurt me, bro. Like, bro, it hurt me deep, homie. Like, I was.
Oh, he wanted to cry about it. It's gonna be all right, my boy. It's gonna be all right.
Hurt. And that was one of those things where I said, damn. Like, I guess like you don't know people's hearts and people's feelings until you hear it. And to hear that, bro, it broke me, bro. Like it really hurt me deep down inside. But still in all, like, I still have to recognize who's a bigot and who's not. What's harmful and what's jokes. And in this situation, Drewski is not a harmful human being. He's not a bigot. It's just jokes. Treat it as jokes. Doing all of this for Drewski is crazy, right? Now, they continued, and this is where you kind of really get to see, like, the mistake they're making, is because they talked about, like, Tariq Nasheed and his crew, like the FBAs, and, like, they broke down, like, yo, this critique that we're getting about, like Black British actors and immigrant groups coming over here and taking roles. This is from that group. And I feel like that's the mistake. They're dismissing everything and all the valid critiques and all the fair criticism because they believe it's coming from Tariq Nasheed and his crew. And I'm here to tell them, no. The criticism is fair. Associating all criticism from Black Americans as coming from Tariq Nasheed and his crew of people is not cool. No. They have every right to feel away. And it's not your job to be condescending or tell the offended party not to be offended. They are offended. Find out why they are offended and try to have a real conversation. But they completely dismiss it because they believe that Tariq Nasheed and his crew speaks for all Black Americans.
When you look at Black Panther, it is Chadwick and it is Michael B, but it's also Daniel Kaluuya and Letitia Wright.
That's right.
That's what it looks like when it goes supernova.
Yeah.
Ryan understands that. Ryan Coogler called me before he was about to make a Black Panther because he knew I had connection to the culture that he was about to show in his film. And he humbly asked advice because he needed me. I need him. Michael, the same. Like I was with Michael the other day. Those of us who get it, we are sharing in the way that Matt Damon and Ben Affleck and Casey Affleck and George Clooney and Brad Pitt. You think that success is based on them being silos? Absolutely not. They are sharing secrets. They are sharing strategy. They are sharing films with each other, which is what I tried to do with Bass Reeves, bringing in people who are like, yeah, you don't know them, but I do.
No.
Now, if you are telling me that how dare I spend 10 years trying to get Bass Reeves made? How dare I bring Ava DuVernay to come in and direct Selma and get that? If that's what you're saying, think about that for a moment. Just think about what may not exist if you don't have people who are, dare I say it, built different. Like Ava is built different. Coleman is built different. Ryan is built different. There are people, Idris Elba is built different in relation to actually getting stuff made. Now, if you're going to begrudge that, rather than go, let me reach out and figure out what are Nate and David doing over there, and how do we? What is this diaspora embracing notion that you guys are talking about, as opposed to me now beginning to internalize some kind of ridiculous what they call ADOS or whatever.
That's like my foundational Black.
But it proliferates.
Yeah, it does.
It proliferates. You look at what is happening with nationalism. The rise of the Reform Party in the UK. You look at why we have some of the political circumstances we have here in America. It starts like this. It starts with people feeling empowered and gathering around negativity that gives them some kind of identity.
And now when this hit the timeline, boy, I ain't gonna lie, man. Yo, I gotta give it up to my Black American brothers, man. Y'all gave them folks everything they asked for, man. Somebody says, is it not insecure to want to see ourselves and our icons depicted authentically? This man did not fit the roles of MLK or Bass Reeves, and he should be able to receive that feedback like an adult. I agree, yo. Again, it's fair criticism. This is not hateful to say, hey, bro, you shouldn't play MLK. Like you aren't a Black American. We want our people to play our heroes. These roles are sacred. Andrea Marie says, Black American historical figures are the only roles his African behind can play that are noteworthy, and he wants to disrespect Black Americans. Somebody says, That's a poor response to the concerns of the people group he is portraying on film. And yes, the actors such as himself are worth discussing, but who is casting them instead of Black Americans? We need to have that discussion. I agree. Again, bro, this is like 1.2 million views on this clip, and the entire clip is them just tearing him up. I'm talking about tearing him. Now, some of the comments I can't even read, right? So this is bad. Even if you go to the episode, like the Godfrey episode,
you can't.
they're on his behind. They're telling, bro, Godfrey, like, people are stunned at Godfrey because they're like, bro, Godfrey, you're somebody who we expect to give pushback on these type of issues. Somebody says, David needs to make a film about how the WS Americans recently invaded and bombed Nigeria. Classic straw man, red herring. I think he's missing a point. So people are very upset and over this clip. And I agree, they have every reason to be upset because you have to find a way to distinguish between fair criticism and true bigotry. And this is fair criticism. People being upset that you are playing MLK should not make you, you should be able to address it like a real adult. But let me know in the comment section, what do you guys think about this, okay? If you're still watching this video and you want to watch another good video, then click on this video right here somewhere on my screen to find out how DJ Academics just revealed something very disturbing about TDE and Charlamagne the God. I'm going to see you guys in this DJ.
Man, what I'm going to say is Godfrey ain't do shit wrong. He did what he was supposed to do as a journalist or a person interviewing somebody. Now, he could have played devil's advocate and did all that extra shit. But when you interviewing somebody, you allow them to get their point across from whatever the question was that was asked. And then you move the fuck on. This ain't your interview to give your motherfucking thoughts and opinions about what it was that bad interview. And he's interviewing that individual. So, bitch, he got the list. He let him get his point across. Finish his whole complete thought and move the fuck on, as he should have. Godfrey, man, I don't know you personally, but K-Dub say you a bitch, man. I fuck with you, dog. You feel me? He ain't disrespect your skills as a comedian. He say you a real comedian now. Just say you got some bitch ass ways. I don't know nothing about that. I fuck with you still, my boy. I don't put none of that shit, what they trying to put on you, because you let that man talk. Because y'all from the same area or whatever, you just let that man talk. You did what you was supposed to do. That's somebody interviewing somebody, bro. Let him finish his thought, get his thought out. That ain't got shit to do with you. That's his thoughts. That's his expressed thoughts and opinions reflect his thoughts and views of himself. All right, man. They say 2032, you better be on point. The year 2032, they say you got 6 years, 5 years for real. No bullshit. You better tighten up, nigga. You better find something out there. You better get the fucking work, nigga. Yeah, man, I don't know. Oh, I know what that was. Cause I ate them stupid ass cookies today. Man, I hate that shit, bro. Oh shit, these niggas tripping again.
AB doesn't get none of the spaghetti, does he? I don't know what I did, but I apologize.
Thank you.
Go get the shit.
So let's eat some spaghetti and have a good time, y'all.
Go get the shit.
Hey,
no, that was some real good shit though.
It's all good, man.
AB, he growing up, man. AB getting older, man. AB getting more intelligent with his shit, man. Even though he fucked up on y'all the other day. Yeah, when he said to that little girl, he should have said it, but I don't know. That's not this video right now, but hey, man. Yo, whatever they got going on between Amber, this nigga with AB, just he's going to dive into it. He's going to dive into it. Hey, mama, playing. That's crazy. No, hey, you see that like button. Got back-to-back clips.
There's some shit. What's up, fucking critics? The AC barely work. The water don't get hot. Yeah, no fucking pots in this bitch.
You need to get your money back.
What the fuck is going on, man?
At least 30%. 40.
50. I need half off, gang. Yeah, because there's no forks. There's no pool. There's no pool.
Well, we might as well see all this shit.
Where the pots was at?
Right here. There's all they have.
Oh, right here? Yo, bro.
I need at least 2 pots. That's not gonna fit 8 pounds.
Yo, yeah, these motherfuckers really got 8 pots.
She gonna get. They ain't got the peppers or nothing. That's how I know. Onion. And onions.
Yeah, there's definitely no pepper, though.
All right, so okay, let's get to cooking.
They might know what they're doing. It's onion right there, too.
Uh-oh. My nigga about to slay on the stove right now.
Oh, yeah, I know how AD get when he over the stove. That boy get real possessive.
And then, you got it.
Man, you know what? Fuck that shit. There's some other shit I wanted to go over, man. This shit been fucking with me about this 2032 shit, bro. I gotta do some more research on this shit. That shit fucked me up ever since I've seen that shit on that old ass movie. And then I seen the conversation that the nigga had with AI exposing the future. Man, this shit been fucking with me. I gotta do some research on 2032, bro. Asteroid to hit Earth 2032. Damn, that's when that shit supposed to happen too? Man, I know that ain't when that shit supposed to happen too. Man, goddamn. What the fuck is this year, man? There's some shit going on, y'all. We finna figure it out, dude. 2032. I did not put no fucking AAU basketball, bitch. And played that shit so long. Let's go, man. Where will it hit? Will an asteroid hit Earth in 2032? The 2032 deadline, Ken Johnson prophecy of the church fathers. I think this might be some shit I might need to look at when I'm talking about this shit. Yeah.
So picture this. A scholar is sitting in his study, surrounded by photocopies of manuscripts that are almost 2,000 years old, and he's cross-referencing a calendar that was deliberately buried, hidden, swapped out. And he starts to realize that everything lines up. Not kind of lines up, everything. And the number he keeps landing on is the same one, over and over again, no matter which document he opens, no matter which church father he reads, the year 2032. And here's the thing. This guy didn't decide to land on 2032 and then work backwards. The date found him. It came out of documents that were written 1,800 years ago by people who had no idea we'd be watching YouTube in the 21st century. People who were students of the actual disciples of Jesus. And they said, roughly 2,000 years after the first coming, watch out. That's where we are today. But before we get into all of that, and I promise you, we are going all the way in on this one, I need to handle some business real quick. If you're not subscribed yet, no pressure, take your time, check out the content, and if you like it, and it means a lot, but don't comment blasphemy though. And if you've been throwing supers, you buy to make you guys more videos. For those wanting the physical books, because most line. The idea that 2026 marks the beginning of the final jubilee of what's called the Age of Grace. If you haven't seen that one, go watch it, but don't leave now because today's video is actually the bigger story. Today, we're looking at Ken Johnson's discovery of what I'm calling the Forbidden Map, an ancient prophetic calendar that was deliberately taken out of circulation over 2,000 years ago by corrupt priests buried in the ruins of Qumran and rediscovered in the Dead Sea Scrolls. A calendar that, when you line it up with what the church fathers wrote, confirms that 2032 date in a way that will make the hair on your...
So look, 2032, this first date came to my attention from the movie Demolition Man, an old ass movie named Demolition Man with Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes. Watch that shit, right? They speak about the year 2032, and a lot of the shit that they said is gonna be like is already happening. Like they're able to inject memories and shit in your brain. They able to. We got electric cars, self-driving shit. But anyway,
your arms stand up. Let's start at the beginning. Okay, so first, who actually is this guy? Because if you're new here, you might be wondering, why are we listening to Ken Johnson? What makes him different from the 40 other people on the internet telling you the world is about to end? Fair question. Ken Johnson was born in 1965. He became a Christian at the age of 12. And here's where his story gets interesting. At 12 years old, he was already bothered by something that most adults never think about. He noticed that different Christian denominations were teaching completely different things. They all had the same Bible, but they were arriving at wildly different conclusions. And 12-year-old Ken Johnson looked at that and thought, someone has to be wrong. So which one is...
That reminds me of me. This is conversation I had with my grandma when I was 13. I remember this shit. I said, Grandma, I ain't going to church with you. I go on Mother's Day for you, but I'm not going to that church with them people.
Right. And how do we find out? Most people never answer that question. They pick a church, get comfortable, and stop asking. Johnson didn't stop. He spent decades digging into the writings of what scholars call the church fathers.
Bro. When shit don't make sense, you don't, as an intellectual individual, if you're an intellectual individual, when some shit don't make sense, bro, you're going to continuously question that shit the whole time. I don't give a fuck what a bitch telling you. If that shit don't sound right and it's just not computing with you, you're going to question that shit the whole time. Like, what the fuck is you talking about? What does that mean?
The men who came immediately after the apostles. These are people like Irenaeus, who was personally taught by Polycarp, who was personally taught by the apostle John himself. You understand what that means? We're talking about a direct line. John, the disciple who leaned on Jesus at the Last Supper, taught Polycarp. Polycarp taught Irenaeus. That's one handshake from Jesus to Irenaeus. One. So when Irenaeus writes something about the end times, he's not speculating from some armchair 1,500 years later. He's passing on a tradition that goes directly back to the source. Johnson's mission, through his Bible Facts Ministries, through over 30 published books, has been to take these ancient primary texts that most Christians have never read, translate them, annotate them, and put them in the hands of ordinary people. Not just scholars, not just seminary students, regular people. And what he found when he got deep enough into those texts was something he didn't expect. These people, Irenaeus writing in AD 170, Hippolytus writing in AD 210, Ephraim the Syrian writing in AD 350, were not vague about the end times. They were shockingly specific. They named the nations. They described the political conditions. They talked about where the Antichrist would come from. And they all agreed on a time window. A window that by their calculations ends around the year 2032. Now, here's what I want you to hold on to, because this is the key thing that separates Johnson's research from the usual prophecy YouTube stuff. He's not a date setter. He's not telling you to sell your house and move to the mountains. He is a document scholar. His argument is simple. These men were closer to the source than anyone alive today. Let's at least look at what they said. And when you look, it's hard to dismiss. But before we get to the date itself, we need to understand the foundation it's built on, because the 2032 claim doesn't just come out of thin air. It comes out of something called the 6,000-year plan. And this is where the story gets really old, like ancient old. Here's the thing, though. The 6,000-year plan wasn't invented by the church fathers. They didn't come up with this idea. They inherited it from something even older, something that Ken Johnson discovered buried inside the Dead Sea Scrolls. And when he found it, he realized it had been intentionally removed from public view over 2,000 years ago, replaced with a calendar designed to confuse people about exactly what time it is on God's prophetic clock. I'm going to show you that calendar. I'm going to show you exactly what was taken out and what was put in its place. But first, we need to understand the 6,000 years. Okay, so here is the foundation of everything Ken Johnson is building on. It starts with a single verse from 2 Peter 3:8. You've probably heard it. It says, with the Lord, a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years are like a day. Most people read that and go, okay, God is timeless, got it, moving on. But the church fathers didn't read it like that. They read it like a blueprint. Think about it this way. God created the world in 6 days and rested on the 7th. 6 days of work, 1 day of rest. Now apply the 1 day equals 1,000 years principle. 6,000 years of human history, then a 1,000-year rest, what the Bible calls the millennium. 7 days, 7,000 years. Total. That's it. That is the entire framework. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Now, here's where it gets wild, because this was not an obscure teaching. This was the consensus of the early church. Almost everyone in the first 3 centuries of Christianity believed this. It wasn't controversial. It was just the understanding. Let me run you through the witnesses. Witness number 1, the Epistle of Barnabas, written around AD 100. Now, this is important. The Epistle of Barnabas is one of the oldest extra-biblical Christian documents we have. It was written within a few decades of the book of Revelation. Some church fathers, including Clement of Alexandria and Origen, thought it should be in the Bible. It was that respected. And right there in chapter 15, the writer says this, and I'm paraphrasing to keep it simple. He says, pay attention to what it means that God finished in 6 days. It means that in 6,000 years, the Lord will bring all things to an end. For a day with him is 1,000 years. He then says, and he rested on the 7th day. This means when his son shall come and shall abolish the time of the lawless one and shall judge the ungodly, then he will truly rest on the 7th day. That's the millennium. After 6,000 years of human history, God presses reset, a 1,000-year rest. And that document is from around AD 100, within living memory of the apostles. Witness number 2, Irenaeus, writing around AD 170 to 180. Now remember, Irenaeus is one person removed from the apostle John. He was discipled by Polycarp, who was discipled by John. And in his massive theological work against heresies, Irenaeus writes this, in as many days as this world was made, in so many 1,000 years shall it be concluded. He goes further. He explains that since God made the world in 6 days, and a day is as 1,000 years, the world will conclude at the 6,000th year. He was absolutely clear about this. No wiggle room. 6,000 years. Then the return of Christ. Then the 1,000-year kingdom. Witness number 3, Hippolytus, writing around AD 200 to 210. Now, Hippolytus is one of the most important theologians in early church history. He wrote the first surviving Christian commentary on a single book of the Bible, the book of Daniel. And in his fragment on the Hexameron, which is basically a commentary on the 6 days of creation, he says this: "And 6,000 years must needs be accomplished, so that the Sabbath may come, the rest, the holy day, on which God rested from all his works." He also connected this to the millennium. 6,000 years of labor, 1,000-year Sabbath rest. And witness number 4, Ephraim the Syrian, writing around AD 350. Now, Ephraim is slightly later, but still in that ancient tradition. And Ken Johnson does something remarkable with Ephraim's work. He reproduces Ephraim's actual texts in full in his book, not summaries, the real documents. And Ephraim's writings are incredibly specific. He not only confirms the 6,000-year timeline, he also begins to describe geopolitical realities that match the world we live in today, which is a whole other rabbit hole we'll get into in a minute. Now, outside of Johnson's specific sources, this same teaching shows up in Commodianus, in Victorinus, in Methodius, in Lactantius. It is everywhere in the early church. This was not fringe. This was the mainstream Christian teaching of the first 3 centuries. And then, gradually, it faded. Augustine came along in the 4th century.
Now I start to begin to think if these people were actual prophecies or prophets, or is motherfuckers that's in control actually putting this shit in place to carry out the prophecy. Because the people in control ultimately control what was released in the New Testament, the King James New Testament. And that's the Christian Bible, right? I'm not real religious. But if that's the case, if you know how the Bible was altered in a specific time period, if you know how the Bible was altered in that time period, right? And it was specific people in control that had a set out plan, and they put it in this Bible as specific people with prophecies or predicting prophecies, predicting events. They could ultimately have those events carried out themselves if they're controlling everything, right? So is it really actually a prophet? Or is it the motherfuckers in control just making sure the prophecy is complete?
Reinterpreted the whole thing allegorically, and the concrete timeline got spiritualized away.
Some real shit to think about, ain't it?
Most mainstream churches today have no idea this teaching even exists. But Ken Johnson went back to the primary documents and said, wait, let's look at this again. Okay, so now we have the 6,000-year plan. Good. But here's the obvious question. 6,000 years starting when? This is where it gets complicated. And this is where Ken Johnson's Dead Sea Scroll calendar research comes in. Because the ancient Jewish and early Christian tradition had a very specific way of counting those 6,000 years. And somewhere around 170 BC, that counting system got swapped out for a different one, deliberately. And what they swapped it out for is what most of the world still uses today to track Jewish.
Right. How they say majority of us are using the incorrect calendar. I believe that's what that's referring to right there. They switched that shit out.
Which religious
They
dates.
switched it up on niggas.
And what they swapped it out for is what most of the world still uses today to track Jewish religious dates. Think about that for a second. The calendar that's supposed to tell us where we are on God's timeline swapped out for a different one, deliberately. Because the ancient Jewish and early Christian tradition had a very specific way of counting those 6,000 years. And somewhere around 170 BC, that counting system got swapped out for a different one, deliberately. And what they swapped it out for is what most of the world still uses today to track Jewish religious dates. Think about that for a second. The calendar that's supposed to tell us where we are on God's timeline was swapped out by corrupt men in 170 BC. The question is, did the real one survive somewhere? Yes, it did, in a bunch of clay jars in a cave in the Judean desert. All right, here we go. This is the part of the story that...
And they say Ethiopia is using the correct calendar. And by that calendar, shit, nigga, I just hit 30.
I think is genuinely underreported, even in prophecy circles where people talk about Ken Johnson all the time. Everyone knows about the Dead Sea Scrolls. In 1947, a Bedouin shepherd threw a rock into a cave near the ancient site of Qumran, heard something break, and stumbled onto one of the greatest archaeological discoveries in human history: clay jars full of ancient scrolls, preserved in the desert for nearly 2,000 years. These scrolls contain copies of biblical books, commentary, hymns, legal codes, and a calendar. A very specific, very detailed calendar, a 364-day solar calendar. And according to Ken Johnson's research, this was not just any calendar. The Dead Sea Scrolls themselves say this is the original calendar, the calendar given by God, the one that goes, as Johnson puts it, from creation through the millennial reign to the end of time. Let's talk about what makes this calendar different. The problem with the calendar you know. Most people today are familiar with two main calendars used in Jewish tradition: the Gregorian calendar, which is the standard Western calendar we all use, and the modern Jewish lunar calendar, the Hebrew calendar, which most synagogues around the world follow today. Here's what Ken Johnson says, and this is a big claim. The modern Jewish calendar is not the original calendar. It is a replacement. It was introduced around 170 BC during the reign of Antiochus IV Epiphanes, the same guy who desecrated the temple in Jerusalem, who sparked the Maccabean revolt, who was widely seen as a forerunner of the Antichrist. The priests who were selling their positions to the highest bidder during this period swapped out the ancient solar calendar and replaced it with a lunar-based system. The group at Qumran, widely believed to be the Essenes, refused to make the switch. They kept the old calendar. They preserved it. They wrote about it extensively. And then, when the Romans came knocking around 68 AD, they buried their library in the desert. And there it sat for almost 2,000 years. The 364-day calendar and why it matters. So what is this original calendar exactly? It runs on 364 days per year, exactly 364. That is exactly 52 weeks. No extra days, no leap years to account for. Clean, precise, mathematically perfect. Every single year, every festival falls on the exact same day of the week, every time, no drift. Why does this matter prophetically? Because when you're building a timeline that spans 6,000 years, precision matters enormously. You cannot be off by a few days every year without those errors compounding into something catastrophic over millennia. The 364-day calendar doesn't have that problem. It was built to track long prophetic timescales without slipping. Johnson also argues that the Dead Sea Scroll calendar reveals something the modern Jewish calendar completely obscures. It shows festivals that were deliberately hidden from public religious practice. Two of them that Johnson highlights specifically are the Festival of New Wine and the Festival of New Oil. These are summer festivals that don't appear in most people's religious calendar today, but according to the scrolls, they're part of the original prophetic framework, pointing to events in the Age of Grace, the church age we are currently living in. The Jubilee cycle, God's built-in clock. Now here's where the calendar connects to the 2032 deadline in a way that's almost impossible to explain away. The concept of the Jubilee comes from Leviticus 25. Every 7 years was a Sabbath year. The land rested, debts released. After 7 cycles of 7 years, that's 49 years, the 50th year was declared the year of Jubilee, the grand reset. Slaves freed, land returned, debts canceled. Total restoration. Now think about this on a larger scale. What if you apply that same Jubilee cycle across the full 6,000-year timeline? Here's the maths that Johnson and researchers working from his material have laid out. When Jesus stood up in the synagogue in Nazareth and read from Isaiah 61, "The Spirit of the Lord is on me because he has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor," many scholars believe he was reading that in 25 AD, a Jubilee year. He was announcing a Jubilee. Now, 2,000 years later, which is exactly 40 Jubilees, brings you to 2025 AD, another Jubilee year. The Dead Sea Scroll calendar, which numbers years from creation in a system called Anno Mundi, or AM, currently marks 2026-2027 as year 5,971 AM on its original count. In this system, the year 6000 AM falls approximately around 2030 to 2032 in our calendar. That's where the 6,000-year clock runs out. And Ken Johnson's calendar, which he has been publishing annually, the Dead Sea Scroll wall calendar, places us right now in the opening of the final Jubilee of the Age of Grace, the last 50-year period before the clock expires. The Jubilee that started in 2025 or 2026 runs to approximately 2075. But what is significant about it is what it contains. Because if the ancient framework is correct, the major prophetic events of the end times are supposed to fall within this generation. And this is not just Ken Johnson saying this. This is multiple streams of ancient calculation from multiple different text traditions, all converging on the same window: the pattern of final generations. Here's one more piece of this that Ken Johnson points out, and I find it fascinating. In the Dead Sea Scrolls, there seems to be a pattern for how the end of an age is marked. Johnson explains that the beginning of a final generation is usually, notice he says usually, he's careful here, marked with spiritual blessing, revival, miracles, a kind of spiritual flowering before things get dark. He draws a parallel to the 1st century. Just before the destruction of Jerusalem in 70 AD, there was an explosion of the Christian faith. The early church was on fire. The book of Acts is basically a documentation of revival on a scale the world had never seen. If the pattern holds, and again, Johnson is careful not to say it definitely definitely will, then we might expect to see something similar as we enter this final window, a spiritual awakening, a last burst of light before the darkness. Some people would say there are signs of exactly that happening right now. Others would say that's wishful thinking. I'll leave that one for the comments. Now, here is where the forbidden map connects directly to the church fathers, because what Ken Johnson realized is that Irenaeus, Hippolytus, and Ephraim weren't just theorizing about a 6,000-year plan. They knew the count. They had access to the same tradition that produced the Dead Sea Scrolls. They knew approximately where they were on the timeline, and they made a very specific statement about the second coming, that when you apply the Essene calendar, lands almost exactly on one date, 2032. But more than that, they also left behind detailed descriptions of what the world would look like in that final window. And some of it is going to make you uncomfortable, because some of it looks a lot like right now. Okay, let's build this step by step, because this is the most important chapter of the video, and I want to make sure it lands clearly. The central claim Ken Johnson makes, and he gets this directly from the church fathers, is this: the second coming of Jesus Christ will occur approximately 2,000 years after the first coming. That is not Johnson's idea. That is what Irenaeus, Hippolytus, and Ephraim all teach, 2,000 years after the first coming. So the question becomes,
they're saying the second coming is going to be the Antichrist? Because that's what the AI conversation was talking about, right?
becomes, what year was the first coming? Most people think Jesus was crucified in 33 AD. That's the date you'll hear most commonly. But in the scholarly work around the Dead Sea Scrolls and in Ken Johnson's research, drawing partly on the Essene calendar and partly on the work done on Daniel's 70 weeks prophecy, the date that keeps coming up is 32 AD. This is actually not unusual. There is genuine scholarly debate about whether the crucifixion occurred in 30, 32, or 33 AD. Johnson and the tradition he draws from land on 32. Here's why that matters. If the first coming, specifically the death and resurrection of Jesus, the central event, occurred in 32 AD, and the church fathers say the second coming will be approximately 2,000 years later, 32 AD plus 2,000 years equals 2032. That's it. That's the math. It's not complicated. It's not encoded. It's just 2,000 years. And the reason it's not just wishful numerology is that this same number, 2,000 years, was being taught by multiple independent church fathers who had access to the apostolic tradition, who were not trying to set a date for their own generation, and who in some cases explicitly said this event was far off in the future. Hippolytus, writing in approximately AD 210, actually calculated this timeline partly to calm people down. There were Christians in his day who thought Christ was coming within the year. Hippolytus looked at the calendar, looked at the text, and said, no, this is still a long way off. He was trying to de-escalate millennial anxiety, not create it. And the number he arrived at for the eventual endpoint, 2,000 years after the first coming. Remember that Jubilee math from earlier? Let's bring it back here because it adds another layer. If 25 AD was a Jubilee year, when Jesus proclaimed the year of the Lord's favor, and 40 Jubilees equals 2,000 years, then 40 Jubilees from 25 AD brings you to 2025 AD, another Jubilee. And what happened from 25 AD through about 32 AD? The ministry of Jesus, his death, his resurrection, the birth of the church, the most consequential 7-year period in human history. What might happen by the same pattern from 2025 to 2032? That's the question Johnson is asking, and he's careful, very careful, to frame it as a question, not a prophecy. The man himself says in published interviews, don't read too much into it. Don't try to set dates. He's presenting a pattern. He's saying, look at what these ancient documents teach, hold it loosely, stay watchful. But the pattern is there. Now, here's where it gets really deep, because the church fathers weren't just saying 2,000 years. They were also describing what the world would look like during the final period. And Ken Johnson's book reproduces these texts in full. Let me walk you through some of what they said. Irenaeus on the 10 nations and the Antichrist. Irenaeus writes extensively in Against Heresies about the political structure of the end times. He describes a coming empire made up of 10 nations, a revived version of the old Roman world, fragmented but united under one figure. He identifies which regions of the ancient world will be part of this 10-nation coalition. And Johnson cross-references these descriptions with modern geography to identify specific countries. Now, I'm not going to tell you which specific countries Johnson identifies because I want you to read the book and see it for yourself. That's the kind of thing that deserves to be read in context, not summarized in a YouTube video. But the point is that Irenaeus was naming names from the 2nd century that are still relevant political regions today. Hippolytus on the Antichrist origin. Hippolytus gets even more specific. In his work, The Antichrist, he attempts to identify where this figure will come from. He connects the tribe of Dan, which disappeared from the list of the 12 tribes in the book of Revelation, to the region from which the Antichrist will emerge. He compares the Antichrist to a lion of Dan, contrasting him with Jesus, the Lion of Judah. This is important because it's not vague. A bad person will arise in the end times is vague. Naming a tribe, naming a geographic origin, describing the political structure of his government, that's specific. And Hippolytus wrote this in AD 210. Ephraim the Syrian on the Palm 83 War. This one is particularly interesting for our current moment. Ephraim the Syrian, writing in the 4th century, references a conflict that involves Israel and surrounding Arab nations, a conflict that many modern scholars recognize as corresponding to Palm 83. This is a psalm that describes a coalition.
God damn. Did y'all just hear that shit? I don't think niggas heard that shit.
Origin, describing the political structure of his government, that's specific. And Hippolytus wrote this in AD 210. Ephraim the Syrian on the Palm 83 War. This one is particularly interesting for our current moment. Ephraim the Syrian, writing in the 4th century, references a conflict that involves Israel and surrounding Arab nations, a conflict that many modern scholars recognize as corresponding to Psalm 83. This is a psalm that describes a coalition of nations plotting against Israel, saying, "Come, let us destroy them as a nation, that the name of Israel be remembered no more." And the countries listed in Psalm 83, they correspond remarkably closely to the nations that today surround Israel and have historically been in conflict with it. Ephraim saw this as a final days event, and it hasn't happened yet, at least not in the form described. Many scholars believe Israel has never actually fought this specific coalition as a unified group. Ken Johnson identifies the Psalm 83 war as one of the events that must happen before the main tribulation period begins, a kind of opening act. And when you look at the current geopolitical situation in the Middle East, you'd have to say we're closer to the conditions for that event than we've ever been in recorded history. But here's what really grabbed me about this research. It's not just that the church fathers describe these events, it's that they describe things that most of their readers at the time wouldn't have understood at all, like things that only make sense in light of what happened later, like the return of Israel as a nation, like specific geopolitical configurations, like a global communication system that would allow the entire world to witness the same event simultaneously. Because some of what Ephraim and Hippolytus describe in their end times texts requires a connected global world to make sense. And in AD 210, the entire concept of a global world was basically incomprehensible. Rome was as global as it got, and it didn't cover everything. So the question becomes, were these men just guessing? Were they speculating? Or were they passing on something that had been revealed and that the people of the 1st century trusted enough to write down and preserve? Let me show you the signs that have already appeared, because this is the part of the story that Johnson says you absolutely cannot ignore. If you wanted to test whether the church fathers were onto something, one way to do it is simple. Look at the prophecies that should have already happened and check whether they happened. This is Ken Johnson's methodology. He's not just presenting predictions about the future. He's saying, look, these same church fathers also made statements about things that were going to happen before the end time window, and we can check those. What he found is striking. The church fathers, and Johnson draws on multiple sources here, consistently taught that Israel would return to the land, not just as a memory, not just spiritually, but as an actual nation, as a political, geographic reality. For about 1900 years after the destruction of Jerusalem in 70 AD, that seemed like a fantasy. Jews were scattered across the globe. There was no Jewish state. The very idea of Israel being a nation again seemed like wishful thinking. And then, on May 14th, 1948, Israel declared independence. The nation came back into existence in a single day, and the language of the declaration was so strikingly close to the language of the prophets, including Isaiah 66:8. Can a country be born in a day? Can a nation be brought forth in a moment? That many scholars pointed to 1948 as a prophetically significant event from the very moment it happened. Ken Johnson says that since 1948, more than 50 specific prophecies about Israel have been fulfilled in detail, not vaguely, in detail. Things like the restoration of the Hebrew language as a spoken national language, something essentially unprecedented in world history. Things like the demographic return of Jews from all 4 corners of the earth. Things like the military victories against overwhelming odds that Israel has won in multiple wars. Johnson is not the only one noting this, but he specifically connects it to what the church fathers were anticipating as a sign of the final window. Here's a way to think about it that I find helpful. A lot of biblical prophecy, particularly in Daniel and Revelation, is specifically addressed to Israel as a nation. It involves the temple. It involves Jerusalem. It involves the Jewish people as a political entity. For roughly 1900 years, none of that applied because Israel didn't exist as a nation. The prophetic clock had basically paused. In 1948, that clock restarted. And once it restarted, the calculation became much more concrete, because now you can look at the generation that saw Israel reborn, and the Bible says something interesting about generations. In Matthew 24:34, Jesus says, "This generation will certainly not pass away until all these things have happened." He was responding to a question about the signs of the end of the age, and he had just been talking about the fig tree, a symbol widely interpreted as Israel, blossoming again. A biblical generation is typically understood to be somewhere between 40 and 100 years. If you count from 1948 plus 70 equals 2018, already passed. 1948 plus 80 equals 2028, coming up fast. 1948 plus 100 equals 2048. The 2032 window sits right in the middle of that final generation of 1948. It doesn't require the fig tree generation to end in 2032, but it lines up with it. Johnson also points to something that Ephraim and others describe, a period where the conflicts directly surrounding Israel begin to shift and resolve in Israel's favor before the main tribulation event. He references texts in the Dead Sea Scrolls that seem to indicate the end of ongoing regional wars somewhere around the 2026-2027 period in the Essene calendar count, followed by a period of relative calm, followed by something much larger. And then, in the broader context of this research, there are the signs that even Johnson admits are harder to nail down, the archaeological discoveries that he believes are coming, the territorial shifts in Israel's borders, and the spiritual phenomena that seem to precede the end of an age. None of these individually is a smoking gun, but together they form a pattern that's hard to look at and feel comfortable ignoring. Here's the detail that I think gets underplayed even in most discussions of Johnson's research. It's this. The church fathers didn't just predict the timing. They predicted the type of world that would exist in the final window. Ephraim specifically describes a period of apostasy, a great falling away from the faith that precedes the appearance of the Antichrist. He describes a world that has become so morally and spiritually inverted that the coming of the Antichrist actually seems to many people like a good thing, a savior figure, someone who brings order to chaos. Hippolytus describes a figure who is charming, politically brilliant, who seems to solve the unsolvable problems of his day. He writes that this person will seem to most of the world like the answer to every prayer. It is only a specific group of people, those who understand the prophetic framework, who will recognize what they are actually looking at. Think about what kind of world that requires. A world that is desperate for leadership. A world that is so fractured, so exhausted, so burned out on division and conflict that when someone appears who seems to unite everyone, they will follow without asking hard questions. Does that world sound familiar? Now I want to bring up something that I think is the most fascinating and overlooked piece of this entire story, because we've been talking about the church fathers who agreed with Ken Johnson's timeline. But here's a question nobody asks. Were there church fathers who disagreed with the 6,000-year framework? And if so, what did they replace it with and why? The answer to that question tells you a lot about what happened to this teaching, and it might explain why almost nobody in a modern church building has ever heard any of this. So here's the thing. The 6,000-year plan, the ancient solar calendar, the prophetic timeline, all of this was mainstream in the early church. As I mentioned earlier, it was taught by Justin Martyr, Irenaeus, Hippolytus, Tertullian, Commadianus, Victorinus, Methodius, Lactantius, and others. That is not a fringe list. That is basically a who's who of early Christian theology. And then something happened. Gradually, in the early church, as I mentioned earlier, it was taught by Justin Martyr, Irenaeus, Hippolytus, Tertullian, Commadianus, Victorinus, Methodius, Lactantius, and others. That is not a fringe.
Like I said, that bitch like he was naming some goddamn Santa reindeer
list. That is basically a who's who of Venus, Methodius, Lactantius, and others. That is Hippolytus was mainstream in the early church. As I mentioned earlier, it was taught by Justin Martyr, Irenaeus, Hippolytus, Tertullian, Commadianus, Victorinus, Methodius, Lactantius, and others. That is not a fringe list. That is basically a who's who of early Christian theology. And then something happened. Gradually, quietly, this teaching faded, and in its place, something else took over. The shift is largely associated with two men. Origen of Alexandria, writing in the late 2nd and early 3rd century, was one of the most brilliant and influential thinkers in church history. He was also deeply influenced by Greek philosophy, specifically by the Platonic tradition, which was suspicious of anything physical or material. The idea of a literal 1,000-year kingdom on earth struck Origen as too earthly, too physical. He preferred to interpret everything allegorically. The millennium was not a real time period to him, it was a spiritual metaphor. His influence was enormous, and over the course of the next century, allegorical interpretation of prophecy became increasingly fashionable. Then came Augustine of Hippo, arguably the most influential theologian in Western Christianity, writing in the early 5th century. Augustine adopted and refined Origen's approach. He argued that the 1,000-year period in Revelation was not a future literal kingdom, it was the present church age. The millennium was now. We're already in it. This view, called amillennialism, became the dominant position of the Western Church for over 1,000 years, and with it, the whole framework of the 6,000-year plan got quietly set aside. If the millennium is now, then there's no countdown clock, there's no 6,000-year deadline, there's no 2032. And here's the thing. Johnson is not saying Augustine was evil or deliberately conspiring to hide the truth. He's saying that a theological framework shift occurred. A framework that was universal in the first 3 centuries got replaced with something different, and the primary documents, the original texts, got pushed to the margins, until the Dead Sea Scrolls showed up. The Qumran community, the people who hid the Dead Sea Scrolls, split from mainstream Judaism around 152 BC, specifically over the issue of the high priesthood and the calendar. They believed the Jerusalem establishment had become corrupt. They believed the calendar had been falsified, and he finds that the Essene to preserve what they believed was the original tradition. When Johnson examines their calendar texts, he finds that the Essene community was operating from the same fundamental framework as the early church fathers, the 364-day solar year, the Jubilee cycles, the 6,000-year plan, the same tradition preserved in parallel. And both traditions, the Qumran scrolls and the early church fathers, point to the same window. The convergence of those two independent streams of ancient testimony is what makes Johnson's case difficult to simply dismiss. It's one thing for a single community to develop a timeline. It's another thing entirely when two completely separate groups working from the same ancient sources arrive at the same prophetic framework, and when that framework points to a period we are now approaching. Now, and I want to be really clear about this because it matters, Ken Johnson is not running around screaming that the world ends in 2032. He is not telling you to panic. He is not telling you to quit your job. Although personally, I'd love to, just saying. He is not telling you that he has cracked the code and everyone else is wrong. In fact, in his most recent interviews, he has been explicit about this. He says, and I'm paraphrasing from his publicly available statements, don't obsess over the date. Don't set your life on fire based on a prophetic framework. Use this as a means of observing. Stay alert. Stay watchful. Understand the times you're living in. And then let that understanding motivate you to live differently, not out of panic, but out of purpose. He also freely admits that the calendar alignments carry some uncertainty. The exact count from creation depends on which ancient chronology you use. The exact date of the crucifixion is debated. The exact relationship between the Essene calendar and our modern Gregorian calendar involves some estimation. He's not pretending there's no margin of error. What he is saying is the margin of error doesn't make this teaching go away. Multiple independent ancient witnesses, separated by geography and time, all converge on the same basic window. And that window is right now. Now, I want to save something for last, because everything we've talked about so far, the 6,000 years, the forbidden calendar, the church fathers, the 2032 date, all of that is the historical and theological framework. But there's one more piece of this that Ken Johnson talks about that almost nobody covers. It's the prophetic significance of what the church fathers said was supposed to precede the final events by about 7 years. And if they were right about everything else, and by now you can see there's a strong argument that they were, then what they describe as the 7-year runway before 2032 means we might need to look at the window of 2025 and 2026 in a very different way. Here's what they said. Okay, so the church fathers didn't just talk about the second coming. They also described in some detail the period before it, the 7-year tribulation, and what the world would look like in the years leading up to it. And this is where Hippolytus and Ephraim get extremely specific in ways that are almost uncomfortable to read. Hippolytus was the first person in Christian history to write a full commentary on the book of Daniel. In that work, he spends considerable time on Daniel 9, the famous 70 weeks prophecy. This is the passage that describes a period of 490 years of prophetic significance for Jerusalem and the Jewish people. The key element that Hippolytus picks out is the final 7-year period, the 70th week of Daniel. He describes this as a period in which a specific individual, the Antichrist, will make a covenant with many nations, a peace deal, a diplomatic agreement, and then in the middle of that 7-year period, 3.5 years in, he will break the covenant. He will set up what Daniel calls the abomination of desolation in the temple. Now, if the second coming happens in approximately 2032, and the tribulation period is 7 years, then the beginning of that 7-year period would be approximately 2025 to 2026, which is exactly the window that Ken Johnson's Dead Sea Scroll calendar work identified as the beginning of the final jubilee of the Age of Grace. Let that land for a second. Johnson's calendar research, coming from the Dead Sea Scrolls, points to 2025-2026 as a significant threshold. The Church Fathers timeline, working from the apostolic tradition, places a significant event approximately 7 years before 2032. Two completely different streams of ancient testimony, same window. Ephraim the Syrian wrote a text called The End Times that Ken Johnson reproduces in full in his book. It is striking.
Yes, they basically just said your president might be the Antichrist, but they've been saying that shit, didn't they? I think they were saying that shit the first time he got elected. Yep.
Ephraim describes a series of events that unfold in the final period, events that include the appearance of a false peace, an economic system that excludes those who refuse to participate, a persecution of believers on a global scale, and natural catastrophes.
If there ever was an argument for an individual on earth to possibly be an Antichrist, all the shit Trump allegedly got away with.
That increase in frequency and intensity. He describes a world in which the truth becomes increasingly hard to find, where official sources of information become unreliable.
There's a couple Bibles and world studies and old ass prophets that said this shit in BC times. They took scrolls from years and years way before the calendar was changed and shit, predicting this shit.
Where discernment.
Now, was they somebody predicting it, or was the people at the top making sure this shit goes as they planned? It's a good question.
Becomes a rare and precious commodity. None of those descriptions require much imagination to apply to the current moment. He also describes a final call, a spiritual summons that goes out to believers in that final window, a moment of clarity where people who have been spiritually asleep suddenly wake up. And he frames this as both a mercy, giving people a last chance, and a warning, because it means things are very close. One of the most debated prerequisites for the...
There's always warning before destruction.
end time scenario that church fathers describe is the existence of a temple in Jerusalem. Hippolytus describes the Antichrist setting up an abomination in the temple. That implies there has to be a temple. Right now, there is no temple on the Temple Mount. The Dome of the Rock sits there. This is one of the most politically explosive pieces of real estate on the planet. But here's what's interesting, and this is something Johnson has noted. There are preparations happening. The Temple Institute in Jerusalem has been rebuilding the sacred objects required for temple worship, the menorah, the altar of incense, the priestly garments, all of it, waiting. And there has been ongoing political and religious discussion about the possibility of building a third temple, not where the Dome of the Rock is, but adjacent to it, or in a configuration that doesn't require its removal. Johnson is not saying the temple will definitely be built before 2032. He is saying, watch this, because if the church fathers are right, and if the timeline holds, then something has to happen with the temple question in the next several years. And there are people actively working on it right now. There's one more thing Johnson mentions almost in passing that I think deserves more attention. He notes that the Dead Sea Scrolls themselves contain references to additional documents and treasures that have not yet been found. Specifically, there's a text called the Copper Scroll, discovered in 1952, and unlike any other Dead Sea Scroll, it is written on copper, not parchment, which lists dozens of locations where vast quantities of gold, silver, and sacred objects from the Temple of Solomon. No one has found them, at least not publicly. Johnson suggests that the end-time scenario may involve additional archaeological discoveries that dramatically alter how the world understands biblical history, and that these discoveries may be part of what triggers the renewed interest in the temple and its rebuilding. Is he speculating? Partially, yes, but it's grounded in the actual text of the Copper Scroll, which is a real document currently housed in the Jordan Museum in Amman. And what it describes, if accurate, would be one of the most astonishing archaeological finds in human history. Something to watch.
All right, let's bring all of this together, because I know that was a lot of information, and I want to make sure you leave this video with a clear picture of what Ken Johnson is actually saying. Here is the argument distilled. Step 1. The early church fathers, men with direct connections to the apostles, universally taught a 6,000-year plan for human history. This was not a fringe teaching. It was the consensus of the first 3 centuries of Christianity. A day with God is 1,000 years. God made the world in 6 days. Therefore, 6,000 years of human history, followed by the millennium. Step 2. The Essenes, the community that preserved the Dead Sea Scrolls, maintained what they believed was God's original calendar, a 364-day solar calendar that had been in use since creation and was deliberately replaced around 170 AD by corrupt priests. This calendar, recovered in 1947, encodes the same prophetic timeline the church fathers describe, and places us, right now, in the final Jubilee period of human history before the 6,000th year. Step 3. The church fathers specifically said the second coming would occur approximately 2,000 years after the first coming. The first coming, measured by the death and resurrection of Jesus, occurred in approximately AD 32. 2,000 years later is AD 2032. Step 4. The 7-year tribulation period that precedes the second coming would therefore begin approximately in 2025-2026. This is the exact window that Johnson's Dead Sea Scroll calendar work had already identified as significant, independently. Step 5. The signs that the church fathers said would precede the end-time window have already been appearing. The return of Israel in 1948. 50-plus fulfilled prophecies in detail since that date. The geopolitical configurations they described. The moral and spiritual conditions they warned about. The preparatory work around the temple. All of it. Step 6. Ken Johnson himself says, do not set dates, do not panic, do not become obsessed. Use this as a compass, not a countdown clock. The framework is a tool for watchfulness, not a basis for fear. Now look, I want to be honest with you about where I personally land on all of this, since you came here to have a real conversation. I find this research compelling. I think the depth of ancient testimony behind the 6,000-year plan is not something you can simply wave away. I think Ken Johnson is doing something genuinely important, taking primary source documents that most people have never read, making them accessible, and letting them speak for themselves. I also think it's worth being intellectually honest about the uncertainties. The exact year of the crucifixion is not settled beyond dispute. The exact year of creation, which is what the AM calendar count depends on, varies depending on which ancient chronology you follow. The calendrical conversion between the Essene calendar and the Gregorian calendar involves assumptions that could introduce some drift. What I'm not prepared to do is dismiss this, not with the weight of ancient testimony behind it, not with how many of the preliminary signs have already materialized, not when multiple completely independent streams of ancient calculation all converge on the same window. Whether 2032 is the exact year or whether it's somewhere nearby, I think the ancient voices are telling us something, and I think ignoring them entirely would be a mistake. All right, that's the deep dive.
I know
Ken Johnson.
ignoring them entirely would be a mistake. The way this shit been fucking with me, I know ignoring this shit would be a catastrophic mistake. But this shit, the way this shit been popping up with that AI conversation with the man with the AI exposing the future, but at the same time, it could have been going off of this research and this study, of this information too. So I'm not doubting that. But when you think about how they switched up the calendars, it's margin for error. So, but One of my old favorite movies was Demolition Man, nigga. I went back just listening to how they wanted this shit to be on that AI conversation. Then I said, man, this shit, they talking about Demolition Man. They trying to turn this bitch into Demolition Man. You ain't never seen a movie. Watch that shit, man. With Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes. Demolition Man. That's how they want this bitch. After they unfreeze them niggas, it's like Wesley Snipes' character is basically something like the Antichrist for real. But Demolition Man, when they had niggas living underground and they had a bunch of mindless bitches just conform with society on above. They was giving tickets to niggas just for cussing and using profanity. I never make it. I'm barely making it on social media with this shit. They keep it reminds you of social media, right? You can't really, you know what I'm saying? Shit crazy, bro. What the fuck? See, I would have got a ticket right there. Me. That shit fucked up. This shit just part of my vocabulary. I can though, like when I'm in a professional setting. But they turned that bitch into Demolition Man. 2032, that number keep popping up. You know what I'm saying? You gotta stay alert, you feel me? I got some shit to do. But I'll be right back. I gotta marinate on that. Hey, it is hump day. It's officially hump day. It's officially hump day. So we almost over that hump. We in the lit house. Keep the light within you shining bright. You feel me? Fuck that shade. Get paid, and that's every single motherfucking day. I am capital. Whatever you do, make sure you do it capital and create a positive impact today and later. Fuck them haters. Get your paper straight like that. And this is a real nigga reaction. Remember, real niggas do what they want to do. Bitch niggas do what they can. Hoe ass niggas gonna talk about it, and fuck niggas gonna hate regardless. I promise you that. So do your shit to the motherfucking fullest, nigga.
What this is? This for them suckers. Nigga, I came from a long line of players that ain't scared of now one of y'all motherfuckers. I see these niggas wanna see me catch a case and get struck out, but I'm laughing about to knock their ass the fuck out. Bitch, quit acting like a stuck up clown. That's why your ranky ass attitude is fucked up now. Sugar free. Bitch swinging on my dick saying weed. So I feel like macking tonight. Not a 70 niggas, 30 gon' hate us. That's why I play the role, keep control, and throw them off with these dirty games. See, time was torn. Cause if I bought me something to eat, shit, I bought you something too. What this is? This for them.
Man, I know you bullshit. Nigga dissed his dead cousin and told him Get it back in blood. Yeah, man. I can't deal with these internet niggas. God forbid a nigga even try me like that. Lord have mercy on your soul, my nigga. Lord have mercy on your motherfucking soul. Damn, bro. I seen this shit, man.
I want to see this person turn themselves in today. I don't see no bad habit to them. Turn yourself in. You did off these streets. Because you don't do that. You don't kill a pregnant girl. I don't have no enemies. I have no problem with nobody. Respect everybody. You see me talking shit? I'm a troll. I'm trolling. I'm trolling because I'm fighting with my inner self. I'm fighting against that other side. That side that say I don't give a fuck because I don't. I care with all my heart. I don't give a fuck at all. It's going to be one or the other. But at the point where I care, I have to fight because I know this God. Fight it with it. Fight it. But I'm talking to y'all the way I'm talking to y'all because it got to stop. You feel me? Everything ain't always got to go to violence. We ain't got to do that. Men, if you can't handle the pressure, you feel me? Stop being so quick to fall in love with these women. They're gonna drive you to do things that drive you to lose your control.
A tragic update to a breaking news story that we've been on top of now for several hours. A mother and her unborn child are dead after being shot several times early this morning.
It's so terrible. The search for the suspect continues in DeKalb County. Atlanta News first reporter Mary Kate Hamilton is live at the Woods at Pepper Tree apartment complex. Mary Kate, what have you learned from police?
Well, DeKalb County police say they rushed here at 5:15 this morning and found that pregnant woman shot multiple times. They say she was then rushed to Grady Memorial Hospital, and the family tells us that she and the unborn baby died shortly after, right around 5:45. And
Yo, this your boy Plug. Welcome back to the channel. And right now, we got Little Woody. He's reacting to the moment this young lady got killed in DeKalb County. And I can't lie, this is a tragic situation, but this is for entertainment purposes only. Let's get to the video.
They spent the morning talking with family.
Oh my God, bro. What the fuck you mean 1-year-old dead after police shooting outside? Man, what the fuck y'all mean?
Mac wants to stop the fight. You heard him. Can we stop it?
Give me that. Give me that.
Mac wants to stop the fight. You heard him. Can we stop it?
Give me that. Give me that.
Mac wants to stop the fight. You heard him. Can we stop it?
Give me that. Give me that. That's funny.
Look at the Jit. Jit stop like, man, I'm glad I ain't win the race. Jit not like, man, I'm glad I'm not in front.
A Rottweiler and an American Bully are
Oh no, 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 no. That's crazy.
A Chicago woman goes viral for her unexpected reaction to receiving her college degree. A Chicago woman goes viral for her unexpected reaction to receiving her college degree.
She don't fuck with that nigga. Nigga fucking that little bitch or something.
What's the word? Can you lift your foot, please? Thank you. Let's give the John. What's the word? Can you lift your foot, please? Thank you. Let's give
Need a car, but can't.
Why you typing like that?
There you go right there.
Why you typing like that? Why you typing like that?
Talking lots where my nigga rock like the spark a lot. My book on style speak for itself like a wrestler. Another notch under my.
AB Abby tripping, fake gambler. The gambling genius who sold the world a lie. What? I was fucking with Mace, man. I was fucking with Mickey. Ain't trusting me with a mouth name, though. I was fucking with Mickey, man, but you can't trust me
Not
with a
listen to
name
that.
about the goddamn Disney World's favorite pet, man.
Thank you, man.
You can't do it.
I know.
Easy, don't do it.
If you spend any time on social media, you've probably seen tattoos everywhere, stacks of cash on the table, McLaren in the driveway, beautiful women in every frame that he posts. A story that sounds almost too good to be true. He calls himself the king of Baccarat. He says he cracked the code that casinos don't want you to know about. He claims to have won over $32 million from Las Vegas casinos and to have been banned from over 150 of them for it. His name is Mickey Mouse. And today, we're going to tear apart every single one of those claims, one by one, because what's actually going on is a lot darker and a lot more dangerous than a guy who just got too good at Baccarat. First, let's understand who we're actually talking about. Mickey Mace's real name is Michael David Miterman. He was born in New Jersey in 1991, got hooked on drugs by age 11, and by 21 had done multiple stints in jail. After prison, Mace claims that he rebuilt his life by building a network of over 300 pharmacies and rehab facilities. A story, by the way, that appears to have been quietly walked back over time, with reports suggesting that his family simply owned casinos. Then around 2018, he walked into his first high-stakes Baccarat table in Las Vegas. According to him, immediately started winning consistently, massively, a 4.5 million session here and 11.5 million session at the Venetian there. He claims a net win of over $32 million, all from Baccarat and sports betting. Now, those numbers are genuinely staggering. And if any of it were true or reproducible, it would be the most important discovery in the history of casino gambling. Baccarat mathematically can't be beaten in the long run. It has one of the lowest house edges in the casino, sitting at around 1.06% on the safest bet possible, but that edge is still to the casino. I mean, do you really think that the casinos are going to have a game there where they know that they can lose money? The more hands you play, the more it grinds you down. No, not one person in the documented history of gambling has ever produced a verified, repeatable method for beating Baccarat over a sustained period of time. So either he's the greatest statistical anomaly in human history, or something else is going on. Every single time that someone asks Mickey Mace how he wins, he does something very specific. He gets very vague. Watch any of his podcast appearances, and there are dozens of them, and you will hear the same exact non-answer over and over again. He says things like, I noticed I had an edge, and the casinos noticed that I had an edge. I figured out that the casinos cheat in ways that most people are unaware of, and I reversed their cheats. When pressed harder on one podcast, he said this. And I want you to really listen to this quote.
I do have a plan that could bring every casino to their knees, and I may pull the trigger on this and watch these casinos burn.
And on another occasion, when asked point blank about his strategy, he said it was for sale for $50 million. $50 million. Let's think about what is actually happening here. If you had genuinely cracked the code of beating Baccarat, the second most popular table game in the world, you probably wouldn't be doing podcast tours. You would be quietly extracting money from casinos until they stopped letting you in, and then training someone else to go in and do it when they did, which conveniently is also the story that he tells. Except the story keeps changing, the numbers keep growing, and the actual explanation never seems to come. The $50 million algorithm is a myth designed to do one thing: make you believe that Mickey Mays has something that you don't. And once you believe that, you're right where he wants you to be. So if it's not a legitimate algorithm, how did Mickey Mays actually win? The most credible explanation from gambling experts and investigators points to a technique called edge sorting. I'm all for pulling one over on the casinos. I'm not the biggest fan of casinos. But what Mays was allegedly doing is far from a perfect algorithm. Casinos consider it flat out cheating, and the courts actually agree. Edge sorting is a method where a player exploits tiny imperfections on the back of playing cards. High value cards get rotated a certain way during play, and over time, a skilled observer can identify which cards are coming before they're actually flipped. It's not card counting, it's closer to marking cards without actually touching the ink. And legally, courts have already ruled that it is cheating. Courts usually side with the casinos. Mickey wasn't the only person to do this. In 2012, poker legend Phil Ivey used edge sorting at Crockford's Casino in London and won around $10 million. Then he used the same method at the Borgata in Atlantic City for another $9.6 million. Both casinos refused to pay out, which they do a lot. And the case went all the way to the UK Supreme Court. The ruling was clear. Edge sorting was cheating. Borgata successfully sued to get its money back from Ivey, and multiple gambling analysts have attributed Mays' supposed Baccarat success to this exact technique. It would explain everything. Why he wins at Baccarat, specifically why casinos ban him after reviewing their footage, and why what he describes, reverse engineering how casinos cheat, is a perfect description of exactly how edge sorting actually works. And it's not just claims that he is cheating, there are also separate allegations around money laundering. A Las Vegas advisor investigation noted the analysts have is cheating is a perfect description of exactly how edge sorting
Do you notice the difference, everyone? I do. I see the clear difference. So they're saying you can. It depends on the deck, though, for real. That's not nobody's fault. If somebody can determine that, how can somebody even determine that that's what somebody doing? Nigga gotta leave and come back or something and be under the radar.
actually works. And it's not just claims that he is cheating, there are also separate allegations around money laundering. A Las Vegas advisor investigation noted the analysts have raised questions about why Mays consistently demands cash payouts rather than casino checks for his winnings. As one expert explained, if you're truly winning tens of millions legitimately, a casino check is far safer and simpler. If you're moving money through the casino for other reasons, the only reason you would want 10 million in cash is because you want to look really cool holding it, or because you didn't want a paper trail. A 2023 Wall Street Journal investigation confirmed Mays' name appears on multiple casino watch lists, though the specific details remain confidential. These are allegations and not convictions. But when you combine the mathematical impossibility of beating Baccarat legitimately, the suspicious patterns in how he handles his winnings, and his own refusal to explain a literal single thing about how he does it, the picture starts to look a lot less like a genius and a lot more like a man who has been running a very sophisticated con from the very beginning. In May 2023, Mickey was set to appear in the Hustler Casino Live $1 Million Cash Game, one of the most high-profile poker streams in the world. To prove that he had the funds to play, he posted a photo of a cashier's check. Within hours, a money laundering analyst on the Reddit poker forum had torn the check apart. The signature belonged to a Chase Bank officer who hadn't held that position since before 2021. The signatory had changed, the format didn't match, the check was either a fake or years out of date. And with millions of dollars on the line, neither of those is a good answer. The day before the $1 Million game, Mays withdrew from the event, citing a breach of contract by the producer. No game, no verification, no $1 Million moment, just a guy who disappeared the second that anyone looked too closely at his money. If you've genuinely won $32 million from casinos, producing a legitimate cashier's check is one of the easiest things in the world to do. The fact that the one he produced raised immediate red flags from financial professionals tells you a lot about what's actually backing up all of those claims. I want to talk about the part of this that I think is the most dangerous. And that's what Mickey Mays is selling to the regular people who follow him online. The whole point of why we're making this video today. His Instagram is a constant reel of excess. Designer clothes, private jets, stacks of chips, sports cars, and woven through all of this is the message that gambling is a legitimate path to this lifestyle. If you're smart enough, disciplined enough, and can just figure out how to beat the house like he did. And now he's monetizing that message directly. His team sells what they're calling the Mickey Mays Masterclass. It's a gambling strategy course with 10 modules and over 30 lessons, starting at $27. I mean, think about that. The man who claims $32 million in winnings is charging you $27 for the secret. If the system is that good, why does he need your $27 is what you should be asking. If his advantage over the
Why
casinos
not
came from edge sorting,
$2.70?
that's not teachable in 30 lessons. That's something that apparently requires years of practice and conditions. And of course, courts have already ruled that it's cheating. What he actually is selling is just hope, false hope. The dream that there's a secret that the casinos are hiding from you. I know exactly how that feels. I spent 6 years chasing systems and strategies and inside edges because I desperately wanted to believe that there was a way to win. I want to take a second here to tell you about one of the latest projects that I've been working on. It's called the Gambling Truth Project. For way too long, the gambling industry has controlled the conversation around gambling in America. The Gambling Truth Project was created to put honest information back at the center of the conversation. Our mission is really simple. We want to raise awareness about the realities of modern gambling industry practices, educate people about the risks and harms that are tied to gambling today, and push for better access to treatment and research funding before millions more lives are destroyed by gambling addiction. We are proudly independent and accept literally no funding from the gambling industry in any capacity, which is unfortunately a rarity nowadays. Our focus is public health, lived experience, education, and creating real change. If you want to learn more about the project or support the mission, check out the Gambling Truth Project linked in the description below. The edge doesn't exist, and the people selling you access to that supposed edge are making the real money off of your hope, not off of the house. Mickey's also built what he calls a funding fans program, where followers gamble at local casinos using money from his team and split any profits with him. He claims that this has grown into a $15 million empire. What he conveniently leaves out is that he only publicizes the wins. The losses are covered quietly and the losers are discarded. It is a perfectly engineered PR machine designed to look like a winning system while functioning as a publicity operation. And he never stops talking about his casino bans. He claims to have been banned from 150 casinos worldwide. His whole brand is built on the idea that the casinos are so afraid of him that they won't let him in the door. And his audience sit up because the casinos serve you. You must be a genuine threat to them, right? Well, here's what's actually true. Casinos do ban advantaged players, but global gaming business editor Roger Gross, who spent decades covering the casino industry, has literally stated on the record that the bans at the scale that Mays claimed are rare and almost certainly exaggerated. Casinos, especially high roller rooms, are generally very eager for high-stakes baccarat play. They don't scare easily. What they do act on quickly is suspected cheating. The most likely explanation for his bans is that the casinos reviewed the footage, identified the technique being used, whether edge sorting or something else all entirely, and kicked him out just to be safe. That is not the story of a genius who beat the house. That is the story of someone who was caught doing something that the courts have already ruled is not okay. Let's be direct about this. Even if we accept every one of Mickey Mays' gambling claims at face value, which I don't, his income today has almost nothing to do with his own gambling. He is literally banned from the casinos. He cannot walk into a baccarat table and bet $250,000 a hand anymore. What he's built instead is a media empire, built on the story of that supposed gambling career. Podcast appearances, a Discovery Channel documentary, an Instagram following, the masterclass, the funding fans program, a luxury cannabis brand called the Pot of Gold. I mean, this guy even has an IMDb page. One analysis can be that his true genius is not what he's doing at the baccarat table, but in his understanding of the creator economy. Mickey Mays has figured out that you don't have to.
Hold on, man. Nigga said he got a Discovery Channel documentary. A Discovery Channel documentary. A Discovery Channel documentary? What?
To be a great gambler to make money from gambling culture, you just have to be a great storyteller. And he is.
Damn.
The problem is that his story is being consumed by real people, young people especially, who are walking into casinos believing that the house can be beaten if you're just smart enough. During the worst years of my gambling addiction, I would have genuinely believed every word of Mickey Mays' story. I might have even bought the masterclass. I could have even signed up for the funding fans program. And I would have sat in front of a baccarat table trying to spot patterns that don't exist, convinced that I was very close to finding the edge that was going to change my life. Because that's what gambling addiction does to you. It makes you desperate for a system. Desperate for a reason to keep playing. And when someone with tattoos and McLaren gets on a podcast and they tell you that casinos are cheating and he figured out how to identify it and make a bunch of money back, that sounds exactly like the permission slip that you might have been looking for. The reality is that Mickey Mays himself, in his more candid moments, has said directly, do not gamble. Don't gamble more than you can spend happily. Don't play casino games with expectations to win. He knows the truth. He just buries it under 50 Instagram posts of stacked chips and private jets before he gets around to saying it. That's a man who knows exactly what he's doing and chooses to keep doing it because the clicks and the course sales and the media deals keep coming in. Here's something that his supporters love to point out. Unlike most gambling personalities, Mickey Mays does acknowledge some of his losses. He's admitted to a net loss of $1.5 million at the win. He's transparent about losing nearly $940,000 on Hustler Casino's live poker tables.
Damn.
He acknowledges losses in documented, publicly visible settings, places where denying them would instantly be provable as a lie. But what we don't know is what happened in all the sessions with no cameras, no witnesses, and no paper trail. And his net worth. Estimates range from $8 million to over $150 million, depending on who you ask. A spread so enormous that it tells you that nobody actually knows, including him probably. What we do know is that a man who claims $32 million in gambling winnings mysteriously struggled to produce a clean cashier's check before a poker game. Mickey Mays is not the king of baccarat. He's the king of the story about baccarat. His wins, to whatever extent they actually happened, most likely came from edge sorting, not from some genius algorithm. His bans were not a badge of honor from terrified casinos. They were the consequence of getting caught. He's not the person who cracked the casino's code, but he does offer one, as he is now an investor, most likely in a new casino called Kurgo, which he's pushing with the same exact technique as the funding the fans method, telling people that they can gamble and he'll pay for it in a bunch of videos that he's put out.
So I started teaching a lot of people how to play and beat the casinos. And that became a bit of an issue too. What I do now is I gamble under the guise of unknown gamblers. I fund 100% of their betting, so they have no exposure or liability to a loss, and I give them a piece of all the earnings. We split all the profit.
He's the newest version of a very old con, the guy who convinces you that there's a secret and then charges you for access to it. The only difference is that he has a bigger Instagram account and better lighting. And the worst part of all of this is that somewhere right now, someone who can't afford to lose money is buying the $27 masterclass. Someone is walking into a baccarat table convinced that they've seen a pattern that's going to make them rich. And Mickey Mays is going to profit from every single one of them. If you've ever fallen for the dream that a professional gambler was selling, whether it was Mickey Mays, a pick capper, a slot streamer, or anyone else in this broken industry, I want you to know that you are not stupid. These people are professionals at manufacturing hope. They know exactly which buttons to push, and they have spent years getting better at pushing them. You are not the problem. The lie is the problem. If you've fallen victim to the casinos, the scammers, the streamers, or anyone else in this industry, please subscribe to this channel. I'm here to help you avoid making the same mistakes with your life that I made with mine.
Shit.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm so good.
Nice to meet you.
Nice.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Would you like to do an epic vlog today?
Oh no, sorry. I look crazy. What? This is crazy, y'all. What the fuck?
Can you fight?
No, what's going
Would you be
on?
willing to fight for some money?
Oh no, no,
Wait, how does-
no,
wait,
no,
what
no.
vlog is this?
This is just my vlog.
What are you vlogging?
Just myself, you know.
Daily vlog. Well, good luck on your daily vlog.
Thank you. Y'all have a good one. See ya. Wow. Oh yeah.
Would you like to do an epic vlog today?
Oh no, sorry. I look crazy. What? This is crazy, y'all. What the fuck?
Can you fight?
No, what's going
Would you be
on?
willing to fight for some money?
Oh no, no,
Wait, how does-
no,
wait,
no,
what
no.
vlog is this?
This is just my vlog.
What are you vlogging?
Just my.
Hey, bud. Real quick.
Electric motorcycles available to try for free.
Did you see my Cartier glasses on the table last night?
The girl had them, but then somebody took them upstairs.
Which girl?
She might have been with you.
That was you? You have them? Are they upstairs? Can you get them?
Because like I had them on, and then chat was like, "Oh, that girl has the glasses on. Maybe it was like bring them upstairs."
Did you see my Cartier glasses? Old girl said that you told her to bring them up here. They were downstairs on the table with Ray J.
No, I remember.
I didn't tell you to grab shit.
I did touch the glasses, but I never like.
So they just disappeared. You a genie?
No.
She had them, and then
Nah.
AB said he ain't never told her to bring them.
He talking about which? Yeah. Oh, bro. He don't even know he put him in the fucking drawer, bro. Yes, bro. It was in your right drawer, gang. Come on, bro. Hey, gang. I ain't gonna lie, gang. My glasses was in my room and I took your glasses. They was down here and I picked them up. I didn't want nobody to steal them, so I stole them.
Did you see my Cartier glasses on?
Man, that nigga dumb as fuck, man. That nigga crazy, bro. That nigga put him on a goose chase the whole time, man. Stupid, bro. Nigga knew what the fuck was going on the whole time. I ain't tell you to grab no glasses, bitch.
Yo, Ack, is that you, nigga? What you doing with Diddy's ass? Yo, Ack, is that you, nigga?
And they look like, hey, yeah, I ain't gonna try.
What you doing with Diddy's ass? Yo, Ack, is that you, nigga?
Man, that AI like a bit. I ain't gonna count. Yeah, that shit getting crazy. That's definitely AI though. You can tell.